Yo. Hello?
Hello. Holy shit, that was fast.
Yeah, look at that.
Nice,
Instant.
nice. Right on it. Yeah, sick.
All right, so what's going on?
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah, it has been actually.
Not much.
Yeah,
Just,
dude. Yeah,
I
we
had discussion about it.
Yeah, we honestly, I kind of want to hear the story on this. Because we haven't spoken about anything for a while. And then out of the blue, I'm just gonna read your message, right? I'm gonna read what you said to me here, because I just want to be clear, guys. This guy dropped this on me out of the blue and just dropped the bomb. Okay, so this is on the 28th of June, 2025. Getting back into WoW. I know ArenaNet have limited resources, but it's unreal how much more content Blizzard puts out with their content patches. I think Undermine alone has the same amount of content as the entirety of Janthir Wilds expansion cycle, maps aside. Like, so kind of take me through the story of you like playing Janthir and then like trying WoW. Like, what's the story here?
Sure. I was pretty bullish on Janthir. I thought it was actually quite good at launch. I liked it a lot. I was a bit concerned about not having any instance content on the launch. But I was kind of keen for all that stuff to come later, and I had a lot of faith that like the new raid and follow-up patches were going to be pretty good. I thought Wing 8 was like fun, but I really was disappointed by how many times the same bosses were reused throughout the entire Janthir Wilds cycle, like in a way that we've never had with Guild Wars before. Like, it was on another level. I actually liked the Mistburns Baron patch a lot. Like a lot.
Okay.
I thought all the Mersat stuff was super interesting to the point that I then spent like 70, 80 hours playing Guild Wars 1 for the first time just to get like more lore.
Did you do a full playthrough?
The Mersat and stuff. I did a full playthrough with the return to Guild Wars 1 event thing that everyone was doing. Yeah. So that was sick. That was awesome. I'm really glad that that patch kind of like, encouraged me to go check out Guild Wars 1 because that was awesome. I really loved Guild Wars 1 a lot, especially because I've been playing a little bit of like WoW Classic in between, and it was just fun to go back to something that was almost like a Guild Wars Classic. There's a lot of cool stuff that game does in terms of like MMO, not MMO, but like RPG game design. There really is like nothing like it. So had a lot of fun with Guild Wars 1, and then came back to Guild Wars 2 with every patch basically. The last patch really bums me out a lot. Did not like Baba Nisos as a map at all. Like visually, it was not at all interesting in terms of its like events. Like its content was just, there was maybe like 3 events in that map that are just sort of repeated throughout. No event chains, which was really disappointing because I feel like Guild Wars 2 has been typically quite good with that sort of thing. Here it's just sort of the scatterbrained event approach that feels similar to something like WoW or 14, like it wasn't that interesting. And story-wise, also a bit of a letdown with that finale. Disappointed there wasn't like a interesting final boss or like a tease for the next expansion. It felt really lean, very thrifty in a way that Secrets of the Obscure kind of was with Nyos, but even then I feel like it had slightly better payoff. And I also was disappointed in the Fractal, actually. I know a lot of people are quite hot on it.
Oh, that's interesting, actually. Yeah, okay.
I think the like 3 boss approach that the last, not the last couple Fractals had, but like Sunqua Peak, I think is my favorite Fractal. I think that's really clever design, and that like each boss teaches you like basically one of the phases of the final boss, and then the final boss is like just all those combined. So I really love that kind of Fractal design. I'm not actually a fan of the old school Fractals. I think they're just a bit weird and gimmicky, but that's also coming from a place of like me starting out in WoW, and I really enjoy that classic dungeon experience. And I think that the old Fractal design doesn't quite capture that. But also just the fact that we have to wait like a whole year for a Fractal.
Yeah, it feels bad for sure.
Yeah, and just
it being in the
waiting a
last
whole
patch
year
is
for
maybe not the
Fractal
best
that
place
is-
for it, right? It's like, yeah, it being in the last
Correct.
patch, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, you made this Reddit post,
Absolutely.
right? And we can probably talk about that a little bit
Yes.
later about, I think people slightly missed the point on what you were getting at, but yeah, content ordering is important, right? It's like, I think it's really important, like the orders of releases, but yeah, sorry, continue.
No, yeah. So, like, I think just waiting a whole year for a Fractal that is not, it didn't feel new, if you know what I mean. Like, it was very, we talk about recycled assets and stuff. I don't have a problem with that, but I don't know. I feel like if you wait a whole year for a Fractal, you kind of expect something that feels quite fresh and new. And I just felt like I was doing something from Ice Brood. It had the similar last boss. It's got the Coden, and it's like I don't know. It didn't feel new enough. And then the final boss just kind of, I did it on tier 4 blind and just completely obliterated it. I wasn't even sure what the mechanics were, to be honest. I feel like we just rolled it, like.
Have you tried the CM?
Brute forced it. I haven't tried the CM yet, so I am gonna do that probably at some point today, even. But does that dramatically change it? Does it kind of change up the mechanics, or like what's the deal with the CM?
So it basically adds an additional layer to one of the mechanics. Like, how much? Do you want me to tell you what it does?
Okay.
Directly?
Yeah, you
or,
can tell me what it does, because
okay.
there's no way I'm gonna have a whole group.
And
That's
I actually was quite impressed by this. I think it's like a pretty good Fractal
cool.
CM boss. So the key gimmick is that the boss does like the crystal. You got knocked up into the air, right?
Yes.
So the boss has 2 shockwave attacks. One of them is at ground level and one of them's in the air. So the key gimmick is that when the boss does like the high shockwave, you have to not get knocked into the air, right? But when the boss does the low shockwave, you must get knocked into the air. Otherwise, you get one shot.
Okay.
One shot, no downside. Actually, it's rather punishing. But I think it's just like it's a simple mechanic that I think is honestly pretty good. It's like it's a Fractal boss, right? Like it doesn't feel like a Strike boss anymore, right? Like Epoch does or Canaxai.
Yeah.
It's very much like this is a Fractal boss. And I think it's kind of cool that the game tries to trick you. Like, for example, there's a green circle mechanic on the CM that after you do the green, because think about this, right? This is kind of cool. So it does a green circle, then it does the shockwave in the air, right? But when you do the green circle, it spawns an icicle directly under the green circle that will knock you up unless you move out of it, right? So you have to, you have to do the green, then spread it. You have to group together and spread out again. And they also, weirdly enough, I actually think there's a couple of things about the Fractal that are relatively undertuned. So another thing it really tries to lean into is, the mechanic with the fire where you have to basically stay near someone who has the fire.
Yeah.
Basically,
yes.
They try to make that mechanic like more of a thing because the game is it tries to force you to spread out a little bit. However, the numbers on it are actually really undertuned. So it theoretically does that, but it doesn't really punish you for doing it wrong. Basically, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
But like overall conceptually, I think it's pretty good. I would say. Like,
that's what I noticed when doing it. The light mechanic just was like a non-mechanic in non-CM.
It's very undertuned. I think in both versions actually. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind a tier 4 normal being not too bad though. To me, I think that's kind of fine. Sure. But yeah, like the CM, I think the CM is actually pretty good.
Yeah, I understand that people want Fractals to be kind of like not too long or deeply involved, given it's sort of like a daily sort of thing. But I've always felt like Guild Wars 2 at the moment still misses that dungeon experience, and I'm really like craving that sort of thing, which leads me to
multiple bosses. It needs
multiple
bosses. It needs multiple bosses.
It needs multiple bosses. It does.
Yeah.
That's what it's missing. And
yeah.
That's what sort of led me
if you ask,
wow.
If you ask Fractal players what are the best Fractals, the answer you're going to get every time is Nightmare Shadow Observatory. Some people who really like the boss kind of stuff are going to say Sunquar Peak, even though that is basically a single boss experience. But almost everyone is going to say best Fractals in the game were Nightmare and Shadow Observatory. Triple boss with little jumping puzzles, bits of trash in between, movement elements, and then you have like cool bosses, right? Like that is the that's the way it is. Like that's like the benchmark, right, for Guild Wars 2 Fractals.
That's what I expected after like a full year of waiting. But I think this patch kind of like opened my eyes to the fact that definitely a substantial part of ArenaNet is not working on Guild Wars 2 at this point. And it's clear as day now. I think that the writing is on the wall, and that's okay. I mean, if the moment that I am sitting watching the Game Awards or something, and I see the ArenaNet logo pop up, I'm gonna lose my shit because I am pumped as fuck for a Guild Wars 3. Like,
yeah.
That is the most exciting thing to me, probably in my entire like gaming lifetime. When that comes out,
when it drops, it's gonna be
absolutely
insane.
lose my marbles.
Yeah, it is gonna be
I was
wild.
not around for Guild Wars 2's launch. I was not a Guild Wars 1 player, so I didn't get that same hype. But this is gonna be like unreal.
Yeah.
So that leads me to WoW. That's when I ended up dipping back into WoW after that patch, because I was like, well, I'm gonna have to wait now 3-4 months for the next expansion. So I'll check out WoW again. Dipped into Undermine. Actually, one of the big reasons I jumped in was this happens every single patch. When I see the tier sets get data mined or whatever, and I see how fucking sick they look, that's literally all I need to get me back into WoW. I'm like, yep, which one's the coolest tier set? I'm playing that class. I'm back in. That is exactly what I did again here. 11.2 looks insane. So I was like, well, I've got to catch up for that. And yeah, something dawned on me while playing, which is that while I'm not a fan of like WoW's content model in the sense that like it only feels as big as its latest expansion, basically. Like, I'm never dipping into old content unless I need, like, transmog or whatever. And even then, like, most of the good-looking transmog is sort of in the most recent stuff now. Just the quality of, like, armor sets and weapons and stuff they're putting out now is insane. The new stuff looks incredible. But even though I'm not a fan of that content model, I think it's kind of balanced out by the fact that Blizzard just puts out insane amounts of content with each patch, you know?
Yeah.
Like, 11.2 absolutely, I think, has about the same amount of content as the entire year of Janthir Wilds. Like, it's got a raid, it's got a dungeon, it's got a new massive open world zone. You've got, like, three outdoor armor sets that all look incredible. You've got all the weapons. You've got a tier set for every class. What else? There's that. Yeah, I mean that's basically what Janthir Wilds has. I feel like over the last year, that's what we got. We got a raid. We got a fractal. We got a few new armor sets. Outside of the open world maps, I feel like 11.2 delivers similar. And even then, you know, like the open world maps for Janthir Wilds. Lowland Shore, incredible. 10 out of 10. One of my favorite maps in the game. But the other three, you know, I could have done without, to be honest. If we just didn't have those maps and instead had, like, just more instanced content, I'd be down with that. I know everyone wouldn't be, but, like, I didn't even mention the, like, meta. I was really excited to do a proper meta in Janthir Wilds, and holy moly, the Barbanesos one was an enormous letdown. I was just, like, gobsmacked. My jaw was on the floor as I was doing it. I couldn't believe my eyes when it got to the organ phase, and I'm literally just sitting there, like, doing a rotation on a static blob for like 10 straight minutes or something. And then just no final boss.
Phase 2 didn't exist.
There was no payoff.
There was no phase 2, unfortunately.
Yeah. So that kind of shook my faith a little, because I was like, well, ArenaNet are typically really good at doing these big open world events, you know, delivering on the spectacle, the coordination, that sort of thing. And they just didn't with Barbanesos. And so, yeah, that upset me a little, because I feel like we got 3 open world maps that don't offer a lot, to be honest. I really like Lowland Shore for its event variety, and then that's basically it. The other 3 is just meh, you know, kind of nothing maps, which is a shame. It's a shame. But, you know, I understand at this point most of ArenaNet's resources are probably focused on Guild Wars 3. And regardless, I'm still super hyped by the next expansion. When that
Elite
announcement came out, I was like losing my mind. Elite Specs is incredible. I actually never would have guessed they would have gone back to Elite Specs. I thought like a new weapon like Spear is about the maximum they'd be able to deliver with this content model. So I was so surprised to see them go and do Elite Specs again. I'm so pumped. And I think the balance team right now are really on the top of their game. Like Spears are, I think, the best weapon type in Guild Wars 2. They have really interesting mechanics, like internal mechanics. I think they're really well designed. The balance of the game is doing pretty well right now, I think. Power creep aside. So I have a lot of faith that these Elite Specs are going to be really good. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I think that I'm really glad to see Elite Specs, honestly. Like, for all the fact that it's probably going to bloat the game even further, which is a problem, I do think it's going to make the game feel fresh. And I feel like that's really what the game needs right now. Spears were good, but I feel like they didn't really quite do that. So, and I think that's where Elite Specs can really deliver on that, to be honest, which feels really good. So yeah, it's definitely good to see that. I also like how, there's been a little bit of drama about how they're kind of teasing them. I think it's kind of good, to be honest. Like they're doing some proper marketing right now, I feel like, which is definitely kind of what we need to see. Like they better practice that for Guild Wars 3, obviously. But yeah, it's also good. Yeah, the Elite Spec stuff I think is really big.
Yeah, the speculation stuff has been so much fun. Like these are my favorite moments before the expansion, where people are just basically every week we've got all the content creators speculating. I'm watching every single video. I'm just eating up all the content. Yeah, I think it's good stuff. I understand people are. I was kind of surprised to see so much backlash because, like, I think worst case scenario, the thing that I was hoping they were not gonna do was that they were going to count down, and the thing that they were releasing at the countdown was just going to be like the names of them matched with the classes or something. I'm so relieved that it was the full expansion reveal. And for so many people to be upset and be like, oh no, we didn't get the Elite Specs revealed or whatever. I was like, what? You got the whole expansion revealed. Like that.
Yes.
That's better. We will learn about the Elite Specs over time, like we did the other expansions. And that was just like such a fun part of the marketing cycle for them. So just be patient, week to week you're gonna get some weekly, speculation, weekly slop content.
Weekly slop content, yeah. That's what we like to see here. We love to see weekly slop. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a good time, I think. 100%. But yeah, Guild Wars, Guild Wars 2, Visions of Eternity, incoming. Yeah, it's definitely cool stuff. And yeah, do you actually want to talk about the the Reddit post you made about like the post because it was interesting to read through the comments there because I feel like people didn't really I think people didn't really get what you were talking about actually. So like do you want to explain like what you posted about, what you said?
Yeah, so because I like read through the blog post again and I was trying to get a feel for like what content we were getting at launch and what we were getting in follow-up patches. So I think a big problem Guild Wars 2 has had since launch, I guess, is that I think with the other MMOs I play, I'm really used to having the final boss of each major story arc be a really epic final encounter that you can repeat, you can farm or whatever. It's a strike or a raid or something, It gives the boss some gravitas, it gives some stakes. I'm not saying you have to do it that way. Often now in basically every MMO there's like an option to do that final boss solo, but I think every final boss deserves a proper instanced fight that they just deserve a proper instance fight that has the mechanical challenge, it has the spectacle, it has all of that, and I think we've just never really had that in Guild Wars 2 outside of End of Dragons, basically, where I think they got that model really, they hit the nail on the head with it. They had like every major villain in that expansion had a proper strike. I thought that was really cool. And yeah, I think the Janthir Wilds final patch cemented that's what we need. The fact that the final patch comes around and the only piece of instance content we get is a dungeon that has really nothing to do with the story that we're currently playing. Just seems really strange to me. It's just a bit bizarre. So
and
yeah,
I feel like in Guild Wars 2 it also doesn't just have to be in an instance either. Like, for example, when you're talking about End of Dragons, I think you're absolutely right here. But I think a huge part of why I feel like EOD was so hype with the story and kind of like the antagonist is because of Dragon's End as well, right? And going back to HOT, you have the Mouth of Mordramoth, right? As well, you have the Mordramoth fight, and you have the Mouth of Mordramoth fight in the open world too, which I think like really Guild Wars 2 can do extremely well. And yeah, for me, you were talking about Bavanissos, the meta event there. That I have to say that was mentally crushing for me. Like that was tough.
I can't even imagine.
Because I was really hoping for something epic, right? We're gonna fight this giant titan in some way, or we're gonna fight some other kind of like final antagonist in like a really epic meta event confrontation. When that didn't happen, it did not feel good. It really did not feel good. And the same thing with Eparch, right? Because of course we do fight Eparch in the open world, but the event did not live up to the character. Like, short amount of story development aside, right? Like the actual combat with Eparch really didn't live up to his model, right? Because like visually it's actually really cool. He's like a giga scorpion thing, pretty sick. But then he just sits there like with no animations, basically. That's beyond insane.
I did the meta recently because it was part of the Return to Secrets of the Obscure thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really hated that meta at the time, but now after having played Bavanissos, I'm like a little bit more forgiving of the whole Nyos meta. I'm like, well, at least it's something, like the Bavanissos one was such a non-event. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be instance content, I suppose. I just think, I play a lot of MMOs, and I guess I'm really used to that instance content model. I do like metas a lot, if they're mechanically engaging. I really loved Dragon's End when it came out. I thought it was just like incredible, the amount of coordination that you needed to pull it off. And now, because of nerfs and power creep, I'm just kind of like, it's okay. I do it for the rewards mostly. So yeah, but they can do a lot more, I think, mechanically with a 10-man instance fight. And so that's kind of what I've always hoped that Guild Wars 2 would eventually do with its kind of like major villains. I just think back and imagine, like, what if we had a Balthazar fight? What if we had a proper Mordramoth fight, a Zaitan fight? I just think these are really cool, capstones to each of those story arcs. And yeah, I think it's a bummer that we don't get them more regularly. So that's why I'm kind of confused by the new model with VOE. From what I understand from reading it, we're getting one raid fight in the first patch or launch, I'm not exactly sure, and then we get one in the following patch, and then in the final patch we get the fractal and the convergence at the same time. That is really strange to me, especially the convergence coming in the final patch seems super strange, because I thought the point of the convergences is that I guess people get a version of the raids that's a little more friendly, a little easier, because of the fact that you've just got more players involved. So that means people that aren't raiders or aren't into instance content just have like nothing until the final patch, I assume, unless they really go hard on like the metas for those new additional maps.
I think that would be
I don't know. I just feel like
that to me
is reshuffling would work better.
That's where they're going to go, in my opinion. I think that it's definitely going to be rough to have basically 6 months with no map or story content after launch.
Absolutely.
However, I think they're doing some really smart things to kind of alleviate this, right? They're dropping 2 legendaries on launch, and there'll be more. They might even drop another one in the second patch. They'll obviously talk about that
that's huge. That's incredible.
In the roadmap when we actually eventually end up getting that. I do think, the order of like the instance content is kind of weird. To be honest, like I think it would be really cool to have that fractal earlier or even on launch. To be honest, there's definitely like there is no instance content on launch, and yeah, the convergence could be interesting though because like maybe the convergence is going to be in a way what you're looking for because it's coming with the last patch. That means it's potentially dropping with the final villain of the story, right? Or the final antagonist. So it's possible that maybe the convergence will actually be featuring that particular character, whatever that character is going to be. So you will have that instance version of it, whereas the raid encounters are coming in update 1 and 2. So in other words, before the ending of the story. So they will definitely not feature the final antagonist, right, of the story at the end of the day. Like we know that for sure. So yeah, and I do think they are going to go hard on the metas actually. In the kind of the retrospective or like post-mortem, whatever you want to call it, that they put out, they said that, we got some feedback that we really want to hit some highly replayable open world metas that are like, that are good.
Did they call it out? I don't recall. Did they mention like
wait, I think they did.
Metas? In their retrospective?
I think they did.
Yeah.
But I'm going to look up the retrospective.
I would really like to see them just sort of like recognize that maybe they fell short in the latest patch and that's not going to be the standard going forward.
Okay. Let me actually I'm on the thing. Let's go ahead and find it. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Well, they kind of talk about it. So
sure.
This is what they say. We had consistent feedback from the community. The additional story content felt too short, and the lack of a new open world map made the update feel noticeably light. Similar reactions to Storyscope followed the second and third releases, signaling that the pacing and structure of these releases could better align with your expectations. And they talk a little bit about trying to give the update more depth and more impact, and how they're focusing on like the map content and the story content for the second and third update going through there. And yeah, I do think it's really key that they focus on open world. Because don't get me wrong, I think Wing 8 is pretty based. But I think trying to do three raid bosses, I like we don't know this for certain whatsoever, obviously, but I'm not gonna lie, I think Wing 8 kind of dominated the expansion in terms of like encounter design, and I think ultimately that kind of crippled the open world from the perspective of kind of casual story players too, which as much as I love Wing 8 and Greer CM, I can't that's probably not the way to go, to be honest.
What's crazy to me is that they spent so much resources putting out a Wing 8 but did nothing to sort of fix the problems with raid accessibility.
But yeah, like that. Like, that's next patch.
Why would you do that? It's just gonna suffer the same problems as the.
I have to wait for the first update, bro.
I have to wait for the first update. I am praying, fingers crossed, that they do some real significant work in that first update to really bring forward the raid experience. Yeah.
In their defense, actually, like Wing 8 did have a pretty decent play rate for a Guild Wars 2 raid. Had a pretty decent play rate for a Guild Wars 2 raid.
Yeah, did they really? What was the stats on that? Because I'm genuinely quite curious.
So basically, I don't quote me on this. The nerds can look this up and correct me if I get this wrong. But I believe about 20% of the people who finished the story also cleared Wing 8.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is really surprising.
Which is that's very high for Guild Wars 2. Like very high for Guild Wars 2.
Yeah. No, that's quite impressive. Especially given that there's no like special, like we had the Envoy armor sets with the previous raids. This one doesn't really have anything, right? Like what's the chase? I don't think there is one.
So I don't think that Wing 8 was actually a failure in terms of how many people engage with it. Like it obviously could have been higher. There's no question about that. But I think the problem with the Wing 8 is mostly that I think it, that in order to like fully cook all of those bosses, they had to say, well, we've got an open world boss. It's going to be Greer and Decima. Convergence, Greer and Decima, right? Story, Greer and Decima, right? So like, I think the compromise was mostly that it, or rather like the downside of Wing 8 was not that that Wing 8 didn't really get people playing. I actually think it did a pretty decent job of that. I think it's very much that it compromised the rest of the game. I think that Wing 8 warped the game around it pretty much. Rather than it being bad, like in a vacuum, right?
I can see that. Do you not think that the new raid encounters that we get in VOE is just going to have a similar problem where they've really got to put a lot of resources into those raid encounters, and the open world suffers.
And there's only 2 of them, rather than 3. I think that is relevant.
I mean, that's that's one less, I suppose. Yeah. I feel like that. Yeah, Baba Nisos really broke me and did.
If you want me to drop the bomb, I'll drop the bomb. Realistically, yeah, like the scope of Visions of Eternity is probably not going to be that different to Janthir Wilds, right? And it's because it's because of the elephant in the room that we've also been talking about, right? The elephant in the room is that we're moving towards another project, right? At this point, like that, Arena is hiring. They've probably moved devs internally as well to this new project. That's the elephant in the room. The goal of the studio, and look, in a weird way, they basically flat out say this, right? They say building smarter, not bigger, right? Yes, that's honestly the perfect encapsulation of where we're at with Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 is being made into like the best version of itself with the resources and the development power available to the game. It's not going to get bigger than it is, really. Like, this is what a Guild Wars 2 expansion looks like at this stage. And we're going to see stuff shuffled around, but ultimately, like, the amount of stuff is probably going to remain pretty consistent, right? That's going into it. So I think that's important to, I guess, like, slightly temper people's expectations on this. Like, we're not going back to Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire. That is a fantasy, right? That's not going to happen.
I've absolutely come to terms with that. And I think anyone that's still comparing these expansions to those is just being, in bad faith. That doesn't make any sense.
And so
I've come to terms with that.
I'm not expecting them to drop something on the level. I'm not expecting them to drop anything like the HOT maps, right? Like, I just don't think that's realistic. Regrettably, and I don't, that feels bad, right? But that's just, I think that's reality. Like, it's just not likely.
Do you? My question to you is, do you think they can deliver anything like Dragon's End now? I feel like, because I feel like the quality of open world maps and metas and stuff has really just dropped off a cliff after End of Dragons.
Yeah.
And Baba Nisos really set in for me that the idea that, like, do they even have the capacity? Do they have the talent on the team to pull that off now, or are those people on Guild Wars 3? Because I do not. They haven't had a great track record since End of Dragons.
I would not put it down to talent, right? I would definitely not. I would say that the developers, like the skill level, the passion level of the devs, is not the problem. To me, it's always going to be, how long have they got to make this? And how many people do they have available to actually develop all these areas of the game simultaneously? I have absolute confidence in, like, the passion and, like, the skill of the developers making the game. I'm less confident if they have enough time to actually make that happen. If that makes any sense, right? Because I think that, we talk about raids being really dev intensive, and they obviously are. You have to do the tuning, you got to test all the stuff, they've got different phases, all that kind of stuff. But so are open world. If you think about Dragon's End is very complicated, like with the way that Suwon fight was. It's extremely complicated. With, like, how many abilities, or the ads that pop up, the intermission phases, the mini bosses, right? Like, all of that working together is very complex. And I think there's something that you pointed out that I think hasn't been brought up by people. I think is really important to talk about. Yeah, why are there no event chains on Baba Nisos, really? Why is it mostly, like, standalone stuff? It's because I feel like a huge dev complication is basically, like, timing out all these chains so they all link together and they all operate in the same ecosystem. Yeah, that stuff I feel like is very intensive on development hours, on testing, on QA, right? And design, all that kind of stuff. So those are the things that I think they're going to struggle with. Can they deliver a really sick boss fight in open world? Yes, I think they can. I would say that, some of the open world fights are pretty cool. In the, for example, I would say that the Titan meta, those bosses are pretty cool. They've got, like, good attacks and stuff.
I agree.
With Greer and Destiner.
Wicked boss fights.
Yeah, I think there's some I think there's some criticism to be had on, like, it's weird that they don't interact in any way or swap or do anything. You just, do one boss and not the other. There's like no real interplay between the two mechanically, which again, I think is a consequence of Wing 8, right? They didn't have the design time to do that, right, in the open world version. But, the bosses have cool attacks. They've got animations. They have good voice lines, right? They do the thing. But here's the thing. Janthir Sintry is basically a dead map with nothing else going on except for that. Right? And then you look at the opposite. You go to Lowland Shore, whereas is a beautiful exploration map, loads of cool secrets, bee jumping puzzle, like loads of little event chains about the place, right? All this kind of cool stuff going on. But it really kind of lacks that trademark Guild Wars 2 encounter, right? Like I think if they'd gone, it's really close. If they'd had a little bit more time to cook with the Bog Queen, then hold on. Yeah. We've got the full Guild Wars 2 experience. But I think the Bog Queen is kind of underdeveloped, to be honest, right? Like, it needed a bit more time.
It wasn't intended to be a meta. It was just like a little... I think it was just supposed to be on the same level as all the other events going on.
Exactly, and it's very clearly...
kind of held it up, propped it up.
It's a huge... It's a huge cut above the rest, in my opinion, because I think the Kumas are gonna like the visual design, but I think the entire design of that character is like really, really cool. Like the Bog Queen, like feasting on the Codons, and they're like raising these like undead bog bodies. You have like multiple phases, all that kind of stuff. If they'd gone hard on that and made that into like a proper meta event, that would have been really, really cool. But yeah, I think the big question is ArenaNet capable of doing both? Because I think what's really key to note about HOT and EOD in particular is that these maps aren't just a meta event. They aren't just an exploration feature. They have both. That to me is like the trademark Guild Wars 2 open world experience, is that it's not just there to have like a big dragon that you fight on it. It's more of like it's a very cohesive, immersive experience combining both of those two things together. Like Auric Basin isn't just the Octovine. It's got loads of like little hero points to go, loads of stuff to explore, right? And like places to visit and like little landmarks that you can find. Same with Tangled Depth, same with Verdant Brink, right? And ultimately, I would very much defend the EOD maps. Like Sighting Province is beautiful. It's lovely. It's got a little jumping puzzle on it. You've got the training arena, but then you've got a meta event, which is a pretty damn good meta event. The only map in EOD that isn't fantastic, in my opinion, is Kaineng, bit of a letdown, unfortunately. Which I think is a really interesting comparison, actually, to Undermine. I feel like Kaineng City compares very poorly to Undermine, actually, in terms of kind of like this
actually
bustling...
what I said. Yeah. As soon as I dropped into Undermine, I like sent a screenshot into my Discord with friends, and I was like, now that's how you do a city map. Like, that looks incredible. It looks awesome.
Yeah. But, that's what I felt like we haven't had. We haven't had the full Guild Wars 2 experience for a while. And honestly, look, I really hope they are able to deliver on that for at least one of the maps, but I think it's going to be a challenge. Yeah, because the thing is, I don't think they're going to have a lot more just like raw resource to do stuff. I think it's more, their strategy right now is very much more about trying to be as efficient as possible and put those resources in like the best place they can be to make the best version of the game that they possibly can, right? Look, I really want this expansion to succeed. I really do. I like ArenaNet as a company. I want them to do well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's going to be a challenge. I think it's a very major challenge because the Guild Wars 2 basically is it going to attempt to recreate what it once had, but with like less resources, right? At the end of the day, and that's, I mean, no shit, that's not easy, right? I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's just not going to be. That's going to be tough.
Yeah, I think the existence of elite specs alone is going to put this like a rung above Janthir Wilds and Secrets of the Obscure. To be honest, like that's such a huge get. So yeah, I'm like not really worried at all about the expansion delivering in that sense. I think my initial reaction to it is gonna be that it's just better than Janthir Wilds and Secrets of the Obscure, just by virtue of the elite specs. So like when they started teasing them, I was already excited for the expansion, and I totally forgot that the expansion is supposed to have other stuff in it. I was like, that's good enough for me. But yeah, I really hope they deliver on the open world aspects. I don't expect much more than the previous two expansions, but I hope they're able to shift their resources in a way that makes more sense, just spread it a bit more evenly, because I feel like Janthir Wilds was a little touch and go with all these maps. They all kind of like are really great in one aspect and then suffer in others, and I think they just need to be able to like smooth it out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you know, the biggest issue that Guild Wars 2 has right now is content. People are really hyped about elite specs, and I think that they should be. But I think it is also really worth remembering Guild Wars 2 has never had a problems with like shitty combat or bad systems, right? Guild Wars 2's issue has always been content quality and quantity inconsistency, right? 100%. Like both of those things have been 100%. An issue for this game, honestly, since the dawn of time, right? If we're being honest here, this is not new. And I think that's something worth keeping in mind, and it's something I really hope that they're able to nail. I am anxious about that 6-month gap, right? That raid rework had better hit fucking hard when they drop that, and the 2 maps they drop on release need to be fat, right? They need to be replayable. They need to have a lot of replay value, because 6 months is a long ass time, guys, right? Like that's a really long time to have basically no content drop. And again, even the first update, again, and this is something that you brought up in your post. This is a concern to me as well, because I care about the health of the game, obviously. That raid release or raid update is probably not going to be interesting to the entire player base, right? Like they're essentially not really going to get much, because not everyone's into raiding, of course, in the game. I think their goal is going to be getting as many people in as possible, right? And essentially opening that up as an option for players who'd like to try it, but it's not going to get everyone.
Yeah,
right.
I think their goal with it would be that the hope would be that basically all of the raids that have ever released is basically the content for that update 1. Like all the people that have never done them can now jump in and do wing 1 to 8.
Be
and
really
that is a lot of content for people that
is
have not done that stuff.
100%. Yeah.
So
okay,
that's my hope.
I actually have to shut down the doubters, by the way. Are you ready for me to nuke the doubters real quick? Because people were saying that 20% was cope. Okay, so 17.3% of players have finished the Janthir Wilds story, right? I'm measuring that based on the where do we go from here, Janthir Wilds achievement, which is basically the final chapter, right, in the story. I guess technically Friendly Reflection is actually last, but it's basically the end, right? Wrong achievement. No, I'm trolling. Hold on. Let me actually fix it. Which is the last one?
Is this based on Guild Wars 2 efficiency? Does it only grab people that have accounts on there?
Oh, wait.
Or is it
wait. No. Like okay, no, wait. No. Austin has found it. Wait, is it Salvation's Cost? Is that the right one?
Yeah, that sounds about.
Wait, there's no shot. No, that's literally the last achievement. Hold on. That's like the last one. Give me only Janthir Wilds, like the base story. Which one is it? Oh, it's Sorrow in These Halls is the what's the achievement for completing that though, actually? I don't know, I haven't done it. Bro, he makes the game, he hasn't even played it, huh? This guy. What is this, bro? Hold on. Read all the literature, speak with them, check in, survive the Bloodstone explosions. Is it just against the wall? Maybe it's just against the wall, actually.
Yeah, let me have a look.
Yeah. He only just did Lonely Tower yesterday? This guy doesn't even play the game. That's just crazy. Wait, what is it? Because the thing is, I haven't played the story on my main. I only played it on my alt, so I actually don't know. Like, I can't look up like the name of the story.
The name of the. I can tell
what's
you.
The yeah. What's
the? There you go. It is Sorrow in These Halls.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Sorrow in These Halls. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So 20% of the player base has finished that. Okay. On efficiency, that is. And for the raid bosses, so for clearing Ura, right, which is the last boss of the raid, so assuming they've cleared everything, is 4%, 3.8%. So again, that is about 20%, give or take, of the efficiency player base. Now,
Right.
I will
Yep,
immediately
sure.
caveat, people are going to say, well, it's going to be lower than that in the real game. And that's true. It is. It won't actually be that high because, again...
But it's proportional, right? Like
it's proportional,
like,
but
you compare
it's...
that against the other raids. And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of, you know...
It generated proportionally more engagement compared to other raids than has been done previously. Of course, it doesn't mean that 20% of all Guild Wars 2 players who are actively playing the game have cleared it. It will be less than that because, again, the people who use efficiency are going to skew more engaged and therefore more likely to clear the raid. But it's pretty good. You know what I mean? Like that I don't consider that a bad number. Like that. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious to know what ArenaNet took from it and whether that paid off enough for them. I mean, clearly it's done something, given that they're continuing to do it in VOE. They're going to be still doing, instance content, so that's good news.
Yeah, I think that they actually... Do you know what's really interesting? I'm so interested in your opinion on this. We need to talk more. I love your opinion on stuff like this.
Let's do it.
Okay, so in an interview, they said that the way we get a lot of new players in is actually through the core game and like the existing content. And they said that the expansions are actually kind of how we keep our veterans happy. Right, like that,
right,
they've kind of said this, and that to me was really interesting because I actually would not have expected that. I would have almost thought that like they use the expansions to like boom, Guild Wars 2 log the fuck in, right? Like new, all that kind of stuff, and a new player sees that and goes in. But yeah, they were talking about how it's actually the free to play experience is where they get a lot of those new players coming in, and the expansions and kind of what's in them is how they. I think they were actually kind of explicit about this. Is like the expansions are for vets, right? That's what they even said, is that they are for vets of the game, which I think was really interesting. Yeah. And I think that kind of explains why they're adding instance content, is because that's kind of what the sweat. More veteran players are typically going to skew that direction, right? And want that type of thing.
Yeah, I was a bit confused at first when I read that, because I feel like every expansion is an opportunity for the team to basically re-promote their game, get new people in. I was under the impression that with like Secrets of the Obscure, that because we were diving into a brand new story arc, that was supposed to be a new jumping in point for players, so that they didn't have to play through the whole Dragon Saga before getting caught up. But the more I think about it, the more it makes sense, because I feel like at this point in the game's life cycle, they've hit a critical mass where they've had enough people try the game that, like, if most of the people that have tried it at this point, what am I trying to say? Like, it's probably difficult to get new players in at this point, because loads of people have tried it and bounced off it, and they can't really add much more to appeal to people. They've been adding new stuff with every expansion, and I think they've kind of just like run out, and I think they see that there's really no point in like trying hard to drive new player engagement with it, because it's just like they can see the stats. They know it's just like not paying off in that way. So I don't know. It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me, especially if they're kind of trying. They're not trying to wind it down, but they've got more resources on whatever the next project is. So yeah, that makes sense to me. I think the game's like getting old at this point, so yeah, I can see why they wouldn't focus too much on. Because then that takes away from adding features that the veteran players would want, and that's not good for anyone. They can't lose that like dedicated player base for Guild Wars 2, because that is the game's lifeblood at this point.
Okay, so I have kind of a question that kind of talks about this, because this is something that does come up as well, actually. Why do you think... Or what do you think, like, the key difference is between, let's say, Guild Wars 2 and Retail WoW? Why is Retail able to kind of roll with the punches and reinvent itself, whereas I feel like Guild Wars 2 Well, abundantly, Guild Wars 2 can't do that because they're not doing that, and then it's clearly not the plan to do that. Like, what's going on there? Like, why do you think they made that decision? Do you think there's anything in particular that like stands out to you, like why they decided to go this direction, or like, and like, yeah, why can Blizzard do it? Like, why can't ArenaNet do it?
Well, I think number one, Blizzard does have the resources. They've got like more money than God at this point. Like, they just have so much money, a huge team. They have like probably a huge portion of the team that are like, how can we get new players into the game? But I think also Blizzard recognized that World of Warcraft retail is here to stick around for a long time. They have no plans. Like, that is clear to me that they have zero plans of doing like a WoW 2 or something. Yeah. They're fully committed to
the
WoW
thing is, though,
and, you know,
to kind of like, this is kind of what I mean, though. I feel like WoW 2 is obsolete. They've recently had interviews talking about how the devs, we can do anything with the engine. We can do anything with this game. There's nothing we can't do. That's how they talk about their kind of confidence in being able to re-engineer the game. They're doing a massive add-on nuke, for better or for worse, in Midnight, right? Like, this is kind of what I mean, is that they do reinvent the game. Of course, they massively reworked the talent system in Dragonfly. They added delves, right? They've completely changed how crafting works, right? Like, they kind of do this. I mean, don't get me wrong. At the end of the day, it's still WoW, right? But like, it is. They fundamentally changed the game quite a lot. There's no point in WoW 2 because they can just do it in WoW 1. Whereas Guild Wars 2 and ArenaNet, it seems that the conclusion they've come to is that they kind of do need another game, right? Like, you know, Guild Wars 2.5 is not the play they've made. Pretty clearly as well. Like you said, the writing's on the wall, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a different product instead.
Yeah. And I think Guild Wars 2 in the past has massively reinvented itself with every expansion. But they've done like humongous steps, I think, with every expansion to the point where now they've kind of like run out. I feel like there is just so much difficulty in coming up with new stuff for Guild Wars 2 because they've done it already. They went really hard on the first 3 expansions, and now there's not much else to do. They can do reworks to like the LFG and matchmaking and stuff, but I think they've got a pretty rusted on player base at this point that they know what they like. ArenaNet are just trying to deliver on that and try new stuff with the new game, you know. Because I always felt that the Guild Wars 2 expansions were actually far more transformative than the World of Warcraft expansions. When I came back for Dragonflight, I was like, oh, Dragonflying's kind of cool, but it's still just the World of Warcraft that I've played for many, many years now. It doesn't feel distinctly different. Whereas, like, when I played something like Path of Fire and we got the mounts, this game is just like a whole new game. That was just revolutionary. Yeah. In a way that I don't think any other MMO even comes close to with their expansions. Like, Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire were something like on another caliber, like really ahead of their time, I think. And now they're kind of at the point where, you know, they've got less resources and they've got to think about how to be a bit more economical. So, yeah. Same with Living World as well. Living World was like where Living World Season 4 was ridiculous, very, very good. And I just couldn't believe the quality and quantity of content they were putting out at that time. I thought those Living World patches were way more impressive than anything I did in like Final Fantasy XIV's patches. But yeah, now they've kind of got to settle down because obviously, yeah, they're not. The team isn't as big. They don't have as much resources. So, yeah, I think it all comes down to resources, really. They've just got less people in the game, and it's just kind of a reality that people have to wake up to. It's not a bad thing. In fact, to me, it's a very exciting thing, knowing that all this amazing talent is working on their next Guild Wars potentially, or next game, whatever it is. I think that's going to be incredible. Yeah, that's exciting to me. That is more exciting to me than... Well, I'd be curious to know your take. Would you be more excited about the entire team pivoting to work on Guild Wars 2 and continue Guild Wars 2 for the long term, or work on a new thing. Because to me, new thing,
yeah,
far
every
more
time.
exciting.
Every time,
yeah. Another opportunity, a new opportunity to get people into the game. Fresh eyes, fresh design. You know, Guild Wars 2 suffers from a lot of issues now that are just like really baked in that you can't go back from. Things like the boon system and how that's all going. Just the general attitude toward instance content, like it was not integrated from the get-go, and now it's kind of a challenge to get people into it. So yeah, new game, 100%. I feel like that's super exciting. And
no, 100%.
We shouldn't be too upset about the fact that we've got like a smaller team on Guild Wars.
Even now that I'm super into WoW, I'm like absolutely loving WoW, and I'm incredibly excited for point 2. I think it's going to be wild. The moment that blog post drops that says it's time, right? Like it's time for the bomb, the nuke, right? That is Guild Wars 3. Like like Guild Wars 3 is currently my most anticipated game. There's just
likewise.
It is what it is. That's the way it is. Yeah, it's not even close. Yeah, completely. Like if I can think of one game studio that I think is capable of making an actual good new MMO, it is ArenaNet, right? That is the studio that is the least likely to release some dog shit slop that's going to die in 2 months, right? Okay, like every other new MMO project.
You know what? I think it's a fucking genius play for them to have started on Guild Wars 3 many years ago, and hopefully it's sort of around the corner.
It better be cooked.
They will be the only like modern new MMO release within that like time frame. World of Warcraft is still going to be on normal retail. Final Fantasy, they're not coming up with like a sequel anytime soon, so they're going to be the only like fresh one. They're going to be the only like good fresh MMO that comes out. They've got the spotlight. That is a real recipe for success. So I'm really optimistic and bullish about that. So yeah.
No, very much so. I completely agree. So I think it's content, and I think it does suck. I think that I do view Guild Wars 2 as kind of like it was the chosen one, and it like tragically didn't work out in a lot of ways. But look, they're making a new chosen one now, so it's it's kind of fine, right? Like they're having another go at making the chosen one. I very much hope it lives up to the legacy of Guild Wars 2, right? I really, really do. And just to clarify, I think there's a 0% chance they entirely drop Guild Wars 2, guys. I think
that's what my next question was.
Okay,
how you feel about that, because I've got a really my personal hot take, and this is not going to be everyone's point of view, but I would rather that they had the entire ArenaNet. Like, they keep Guild Wars 2 going until Guild Wars 3 drops.
And then
to me, it does not make sense, actually, to, like, have resources going towards Guild Wars 2 at that point, depending on what kind of game Guild Wars 3 is. But the Guild Wars 2 was such a massive shift from Guild Wars 1 that it makes sense that they kind of exist in parallel. I don't know. I can't envision what a Guild Wars 3 would look like. In the sense that, like, would it be different enough from Guild Wars 2 that you would need to have them coexist? Would it not just be an upgrade to Guild Wars 2 in every way? Like.
Well, do you think I think they're going to go? I think they're going to go in a very different direction. That's my.
Yeah.
I think they're going to go in a very different direction.
Because there are things that I love about Guild Wars 2. That I would want in Guild Wars 3. Like the big focus on dynamic events and meta events. The classes, the races. So I can't envision it. And like we've got this hybrid action tab target MMO. The only way I can see them doing a significant change with Guild Wars 3 is just full action at that point. Like this is just like a how do
you feel about that, by the way? Because we're on the same page so far, by the way. We're actually on the same page. If I had to guess, I think we're going full action with 3. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think it's a good move.
You played some New World, right? You played New World?
I played a lot of New World at launch. Yeah. I thought it was good. It's definitely a different flavor, and I think it definitely limits your design space.
Yep.
So, but I think if there are any company that can make it work, it is ArenaNet.
Yes.
I think they can figure out a way to make action combat work, but still have like the complexity and breadth of like MMO skill design. In my head, I'm picturing like instead of 10 skills, it's like 5 skills. So it's more than New World. It's less than Guild Wars 2. I think it's, difficult to have this full action bar combat combined with, action. Well, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's going to be full action, and I think that's a smart move given how hot action games are right now. People are loving Souls-likes. They're like, real popular. So I think that's a smart move. I hope that's what they do, because I think if they do anything less than that, they do an action/tab target hybrid. I think it's just kind of stepping on the toes of Guild Wars 2, and then, why have them exist in parallel?
I mean, sure. The thing is, if they do that, like, they're saying, okay, so the thing that's basically keeping the studio afloat right now, we're pulling the plug. Surely they cut. There's no shot. Yeah. There's no shot.
But like,
because the thing is, once it's off, okay, look, let's imagine this scenario. They drop Guild Wars 3, and they basically say, yep, all of our we have like 3 guys like keeping the hamsters fed, like in the servers, and like that's your lot.
Right,
like good luck, good luck, have fun. If Guild Wars 3 doesn't work out, though, you won't be able to go back to Guild Wars 2 if you do that. Like, if you fully pull the plug, you basically cut support and say, yeah, this game is now maintenance mode. Visions of Eternity is Visions of maintenance mode, right? Like, there's no recovery from that. Like, that is a very final decision.
It's a really... It's hard to know without knowing, like, the exact resources and the amount of money that ArenaNet are playing with right now. But, like, would not the entire Guild Wars 2 player base jump onto Guild Wars 3?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I don't actually. Okay. Look, okay, do you know why I think this? Do you know the number one, whenever we chat about Guild Wars 3, do you know what the number one question I get is will we be able to keep our legendaries and all of our progress? I'm not starting again, right? No, I think that people don't want to start fresh, to be honest. I think most people would not want to move on. Because I think this happened with Guild.
I won't go into it, but this is the personal take. Like, I just disagree with that. Like, I feel like I am ready to start fresh. Like,
oh my god, I love fresh.
Time with Guild
Dude,
Wars
I
2,
love starting fresh. Like, starting fresh is the fucking best. I love it.
So pure about the fresh experience in an MMO, and I'm so ready for that. So the idea of people being like, you don't have to let go of it. I don't think they're going to shut down Guild Wars 2. I just think that the content that it's getting is not going to be like expansion quality. They'll come down to something like a permanent living world situation or something like that.
Yeah. Because I cannot imagine them ever just stopping all development on Guild Wars 2. I think it will probably be a lot more focused around like polishing what's already there. So stuff like the Raid LFG rework, right? That they're kind of teasing, right? In the the upcoming in quarter update 1, I think it's gonna go that direction and be a little bit less content focused. Would be my guesstimate, but I just can't imagine a universe where they actually drop Guild Wars 2 development. I can't imagine it. But this didn't happen with old school RuneScape and RuneScape 3. This didn't really happen with Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2 even, right? Like, a lot of people, like, it's funny, and this is actually a concern I actually have, like, how ArenaNet's going to handle this. There's a huge amount of resentment, even, in the Guild Wars 1 community towards Guild Wars 2 and, to a lesser extent, ArenaNet, because they view it as, like, a giga betrayal. That they're saying, like, yep, new game, good luck, guys, see ya. And yeah, that is actually a concern to me, that I think there is going to be that type of response as well. Like, people are going to view it as a betrayal of the player base. I think ArenaNet's messaging can be criticized there, to be honest, because the way that they talk about the new model, it sounds like they're like, oh yeah, we're going big on Guild Wars 2, and to be honest, that's kind of not what's happened. To be honest, that's
what bugs me the most. Is they say that, and then they put out a patch like Bavanisos.
Exactly.
And I'm like, well, I feel like you're just why?
To an extent, I feel like they're making a rod for their own back, right? Like, I feel like if they'd been transparent and said, yeah, we are working on this other project, and we hope you understand that, and therefore the patches are not, you know, are not going to be perhaps what you'd expect. You PR speak that up a little bit, obviously, but that's the gist, right? And then honestly, I think people will be a bit more chill about it. And by the way, that's actually that by the way, guys, is not without precedent. For example, there was basically like an entire year content drought with essentially slop content with the Season of the Dragons, and people actually loved it, and they were completely fine with that because they understood that EOD was coming, right? And EOD was being developed, right? And I feel like I don't think gamers are actually super unreasonable, but the problem is that ArenaNet, on the one hand, they're presenting this new model as like a revitalization of the game, right? But on the other hand, we're hiring devs for this other project, right? Like, and this I feel like this has created like a really big disconnect between the player base and where the studio is at, right? And that creates all this friction. Like, they got a huge amount of criticism and a massive amount of blowback. And I think you can even see this in the sales figures, to be honest. Like, Soto was rough. And to be honest, like, if you look at Janthir Wilds sales, even though Janthir Wilds, I think, is a superior product, it didn't really sell super hot. It was very comparable to Soto, a little bit lower even. And some of that is because of economic climate, obviously. But I think some of that is also because, like, Soto burned people hard. With what it was kind of presented as and what it actually ended up being, right?
Yeah. I think it is just, we're in this really awkward limbo where we're not super satisfied with the content that's coming out, but they're trying to get us excited for the content that's coming out. But we also can't get excited for Guild Wars 3 because they haven't confirmed it, and we don't know how far out it is.
Yeah.
So we're in this awkward phase where we're kind of like, should we be excited about Guild Wars 2 or should we not? Should we be excited for this other thing that we don't really know about? It's really awkward. And I agree. I feel like their biggest problem right now is messaging. They just need to be 100% honest and transparent. We're like, this is why the content is this way. And I think they've fostered a community that would understand that. As you said, Seasons of Dragons went down fine. The re-return of Living World Season 1 for a whole, a whole content cycle, that was fine as well. People loved that. That was okay. Yeah, I agree. I think that's their biggest problem.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's what's driving a lot of the anxiety. And you know, the thing is, I don't know if you've been keeping track of this, but I think the negative effects of the last 2 expansions are really showing now. Because
I would agree.
But in the community sentiment, right? Like, people are so unbelievably, like, even I'm surprised at how uncharitable people are being to ArenaNet right now. You know, I think that's the way of putting it. Like, dude, they're getting like roasted for like naming the elite specs or like not revealing all of them. Right? I feel like, you know, I feel like ArenaNet has regrettably, and this, I don't like saying this, by the way, guys, because I actually do really like this tier. I have a huge soft spot for ArenaNet. It just feels like a lot of the goodwill that ArenaNet has built up over the years, it's been spent. Right? Like, they've spent their goodwill points, and now any little thing that people don't like or people have a problem with, they will fucking unload about it currently. And I think that's honestly tough. But that's not a fun position to be in, like, from a game dev perspective whatsoever. And yeah, I think that's very much like where you know, I think that's very much what's going on right now in the communities, that people just they don't have any. There's not a lot of goodwill left over, unfortunately, which I think sucks. It's made the environment like pretty negative, right? It does not feel good.
For sure. Yeah, it's a shame. I think they'll earn some of it back with as soon as the expansion comes out, it's gonna be like full poggers hype moment. Everyone's gonna fucking love it and eat it up. The elite specs are gonna be primo. They're gonna be sick. But yeah, I think, like I said, I think the last patch has really broken people's faith, and now everyone's waking up to the fact that, like, oh, this is like not what we were expecting when you said that Guild Wars 2 is like a massive focus and it's doing better than ever in terms of players. And the team is apparently, you know, the size of the Living World Season 4 team or something. They said something along those lines, and it's just not showing. And it is kind of like a harsh realization. But like we just talked about, the fact that they haven't confirmed a Guild Wars 3 means people can't like point to something and be like, oh, that's why. People are just kind of like, well, why is this happening?
I think ArenaNet is in genuinely a horrible position, to be honest, because this is not the part where the analogy breaks down with Season of the Dragons is that ultimately EOD was an expansion for Guild Wars 2. If they go ahead and like drop it and say, oh yeah, guys, like the reason why Guild Wars 2 is a bit scuffed right now is because we're making the new game where you have to start fresh and all of your legendaries, they're gone. Boom. Enjoy that. Right? Like, and you know that game you really like right now? Well, we're making this other game that you might like, but it's not certain, right? So like, and that means that like development resources are going to be like lower on the game that you do like for certain, right? So I think it is a really tough sell. It's really tough to navigate for ArenaNet, to be honest, but yeah, I don't know. It is what it is.
Yeah. I will say, if they announced like a Halls of Monument style thing for Guild Wars 2 today, they were like, you can start working on this stuff for Guild Wars 3. Yeah. I would be doubling down on Guild Wars 2. Yeah. I would be playing it more than ever. I'd be like, hell yeah. I want to get super invested in this world. I want to get the extra stuff. I'd be doubling down. My excitement would be like renewed, I think.
No, I actually completely agree. Like, it's no secret I've been playing the game quite a bit less over the last couple of years. Basically, starting with Soto was when I started to fall off the game a little bit, for real. Dude, if they drop on in the next studio update, the juice, if they give us the source and they say, yep, HOM is coming, yep, Guild Wars 3 is coming. Dude, that would actually make me grind Guild Wars 2 so fucking hard. Like, no joke, dude. I will be, I am back.
100%.
Okay? That's actually the thing that would get me back to the, like, properly, like, playing the game. Like, right now, look, I don't play the game. I engage in slop content. I run around, like, randomly pressing buttons, okay? Like, shouting at the chat, okay? That's what I do in Guild Wars 2, okay? If they actually confirm Guild Wars 3 and HOM, I'm actually back. I'm logged in. I'm actually logged in.
Yeah. Can you imagine like you get HOM points for each legendary? I would be like I'd be grinding legendaries so hard. I would, that'd just have me absolutely neck deep in this game.
Oh, yes. TP chat, indeed. But dude, 0 to hero, 0 to complete HOM. That's my YouTube content. Infinite YouTube slob.
Yes, there you go.
Get ready for it. I love slob. But you know what I mean? I am serious though. Like, it would definitely get me engaged with the game again. Like, unironically. And I think, honestly, I think a lot of people would feel the same. Actually, I think that being part of being part of that journey from one game to another, I think would get a lot of people engaged. Okay,
get new
honestly,
people in too.
Let's get. Oh, I do agree. I do agree with that actually, because it's exciting, right? Like, new people go, "Oh shit, Guild Wars 3 is coming, dude! I want to go check out Guild Wars 2. Like, what's going on with this? Like, what's up with this?"
Yeah, like, oh, you get extra stuff for playing. I mean, that's actually a massive reason I jumped into Guild Wars 1 recently. It was just to get the HOM stuff for Guild Wars 2. I'm like, I've never gotten it before. I saw some sick gloves, and I'm like, well, I need those, so I'm gonna play through the entire game.
Yeah. How would you feel if How many more expansions do you think we're getting in Guild Wars 2 before we actually start to look that way and they start talking about it? Because I've actually made bets. I've actually made a bet with someone.
Yep.
Someone took my bet.
Okay.
$50 that we hear something within the next 2 years. That's the bet that I have made that with someone. I'm actually very confident that I'm gonna win that. In my opinion.
I'm on board with that. I think that like we're gonna get VOE.
Yep.
And then I actually think we would get one final expansion that is like a big send-off, a big sort of like victory lap of Guild Wars 2 that sets up Guild Wars 3, just like Eye of the North or something like that. I think that's what we get. So
this one and then
VOE
one more
this year,
is what you're
that expansion
that's what you're
next
thinking.
year would be it, and then we'd get like an announcement or something. And there'd be maybe like a year or two maybe of downtime. I don't think 2. I actually think that's kind of like hard to sustain.
Yeah, it would have to be 1.
A 1 year gap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 would be too much. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think BOE and then one more. That's That's my prediction. But you know what's funny? I think I don't know how it came up, but I was scrolling YouTube and a recommended video of yours came up, and it was like a tea time from many years ago with like wooden potatoes with everyone. And back then, this was like, I think it was before EOD, maybe. Back then, you were predicting a Guild Wars 3, like 1 or 2 years out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this is actually weird. This is gonna be so fucking funny if this is true. Brazil predicted that Guild Wars 3 drops in 2027.
Oh shit!
Yeah, he actually did.
Yeah, that would be.
He predicted
gnarly.
it.
He is a prophet.
And that's actually looking like not impossible, which is funny. Well, you know, here's the thing though. To be clear though, there's a reason for that speculation, guys. And we know this because of like Jessica Price kind of crashing out a little bit on Twitter. Like it was on the table to basically end Guild Wars 2 with Season 4. Like, we know this. Like, this is actually one of the things that we do have, again, from a, you know, a little greater salt, because it's from a unhappy dev. But yeah, Jessica Price said that they were told to make Season 4 work as an ending, right, to the game.
Yeah.
Right, leave it open-ended, but make it work as an ending to the Guild Wars 2 story. And you can really see that in that cutscene at the end. I actually remember sweating a bit. I don't know how you experienced this, but when I played through that cutscene on stream for the first time, I was like, oh my god, is this the end? Like, I was like, what? This is a roll credits moment. Holy fuck. I was really sweating, actually. Of course, you know, we got Icebrood Saga after that, that was something. But you know, that's the way it was. Yeah. Like, there's a reason why people have been talking about this stuff, because it's not like we haven't been here before. Like, ArenaNet was absolutely thinking about this. You know, like even back then, they were thinking about some kind of next thing, right?
Do you reckon that's when they started, or do you think it was like after End of Dragons that they were like? Ooh. Well, I reckon there were people starting pre-production back then. And then after End of Dragons was when they really hit it off, and they were like, "All right, let's go."
Yeah, if I had to guess, I reckon they probably were. I think they were cooking a bunch of random stuff, to be honest, during Season 4, because all of the artwork got dug up, right? Like for different projects. Looks like there was like something to do with Dune, right? There was like a Dune game that they were maybe working on or something like that, you know. And there looked like loads of different concept arts, loads of varied stuff. So I think they probably had a couple of things they were cooking at that point. Maybe one of them was 3, like or at least a very basic concept. Yeah, again, as you say, pre-production of like what would a Guild Wars 3 look like. But yeah, if I had to guess, I would say they probably properly started on it, in the EOD cycle for sure. Yeah, that would be my guesstimate. Yeah. So
cool. I think they're in a really good position for a Guild Wars 3. I just think about every other MMO or MMO Lite. Destiny confirmed that they're not working on a Destiny 2, so you know Destiny's kind of floundering at the moment, and you know they're struggling with all their resources being shifted onto Marathon and that stuff. So they don't have a sequel coming out. Warframe, they're working on Soulframe, but that is like a very, very different game to Warframe. And then like WoW, Final Fantasy, ESO's not working on another thing. They're going to be the only like currently established MMO that has a sequel coming out, which is like that's a humongous deal. I mean that's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's big content. Yeah, Austin was telling me about this, actually. The new Destiny expansion looks pretty cool, actually. You know.
Yeah, so I've heard mixed things. I heard the story was really, really good, but the gameplay was a little mid. I've heard people sort of rate it overall kind of like in the middle pack of Destiny 2 expansions. But I was big on Destiny. I always kept up with the expansions, but Final Shape was like, that was it for me. That was a great expansion, but it kind of like capped it off nicely, and I'm ready to sort of put the game down after that, especially after all the layoffs and the drama with, you know, Marathon and all that. I was like, well, yeah, I'm done with the game. Happy to put it down. Happy to end on a good note. And actually, I feel the same way about Final Fantasy 14. I really kept up with that game. Really loved Endwalker. It was a good expansion, but like also a great expansion to just sort of end things. I'm not really down for like another whole, you know, decade-long story arc. So I've kind of put down that game as well, and just kind of realized that there are parts of it, like the Guild Wars 2 and WoW, kind of service my wants and needs for an MMO more than 14 does. Like if I
Yeah.
want the vertical grind, I play WoW. If I don't want that, I play Guild Wars 2, and that's all it. That's all I need. You know, I don't need to keep up with every MMO and every expansion.
Yeah, and you know, funny enough, this is kind of why I feel like I feel like we're going to be witnessing, okay? Look, the MMO equivalent of the invention of the iPhone. I'm not joking, bro. Because, look, here's the thing. Like, I think Guild Wars 3 has to be a little bit interesting, a little bit different to what's currently on the market. Because you know what the problem is with the current MMO market and why all these new MMOs are just dead? Like, there's DOA, right? Or like, not really massive, but they're not blowing up, right? Like, some of them are, you know, ticking along fine. Like, stuff like Lost Ark, it's still there. Like, Throne Liberty's doing all right. Like, ish. Right? The reason why they're not big is because the current MMOs are actually really good. You know, like Guild Wars 2 is a really good game. Like, you know, again, it's, you know, it's maybe seen better days, but it's a really good game to log into. Like World of Warcraft, it's a really good game. Like if you like that kind of vertical stuff, you love your raids, right? You love your big silly story that's, you know, epic and cheesy with fucking Dimensius, the all devouring or whatever, like really over the top stuff. Yeah, that game's there for you. If you like the story, Final Fantasy's there for you, right? Like there's the current. Oh, and if you kind of like the chill grind, you got RuneScape, right? The current games are very good, and they all kind of do what they do really well. I think it's super hard to out WoW or out Guild Wars or out Final Fantasy or out RuneScape. And this is why I think that, yeah, we're gonna, I think it's almost necessary for Guild Wars 2 to actually innovate, which to be honest is what I've been, you know, really missing from ArenaNet as a studio. You know, you talk about how impactful HOT is and Path of Fire, and I completely agree. Like, in my opinion, you know, you've played a lot more MMOs than me, to be honest, so you can maybe even give a better rating, but I consider Heart of Thorns to be the best MMO expansion I have ever played. And that's even competing with some of the, I consider Dragonflight to be excellent and The War Within to be excellent as well. I think HOT is pretty much the best expansion for an MMO ever. And precisely because ArenaNet brings so many ideas. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I would agree with that, actually.
And that's what I've been missing. I've been missing that innovation from ArenaNet. Like, I haven't been seeing it in the last couple of expansions, right? I just have not been seeing that from the studio. I know they can do it. They're more than capable of it. I want to see it manifest in 3, right? Or again, whatever they're going to call it. Maybe it's like, maybe they do like a meme and it's, you know, it's Guild Wars X or Guild Wars 0, you know? Like, we're going to mix it up a little bit. Okay, but yeah, whatever they do.
It's the Guild Wars 1 remake.
Yeah, Guild Wars 1 remake, log in. Right, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I do believe ArenaNet has the capacity to do this. Like, they've done it before, and hopefully they do it again. I don't know.
Here's what I hope people don't bitch about. I feel like a big thing people complain about now when MMOs come out is that there isn't enough content relative to all the other MMOs that are out now. And I mean, that is an impossible expectation, to be honest.
I'm not sure if that's the problem. I'm not sure if that's the problem.
I think it's just part of it. I hear those complaints all the time when they came up. People blitz through it, and they're like, well, back to WoW, back to Guild Wars.
Well, I feel like the problem is slightly more nuanced than that, though. Isn't it that all these games launch with no fucking content plan whatsoever? Because think about this, right? Like, the way retail WoW operates is that you like you said, right? Like, the current patch is the game, right? That's just like, that's the nature of like retail World of Warcraft. If you do that, like, that's good enough, right? But you just have to have the patch coming up in 6 months that's going to drop that all over again, right? Or like something comparable to that. Yeah, I just think that these games have no plan.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely part of it. Yeah. But I felt like, for example, New World, I played that, and as soon as you hit endgame, there's just jack shit to do, and people just went back to their
because they had
even if they were like, oh yeah, there's an expansion on the horizon, I think people would be like, no, see ya.
Yeah, because that game just had 0 fucking content on release, right? It didn't have anything.
Yeah.
Right, there was no endgame. Yeah. I feel like you can't launch your MMO and then wait 3 months to add endgame. You have to
Yes,
you have to release it with an end game loop intact, and it can be multiple things.
Yeah.
You can do PvE, you can do raids, you can do dungeons, you can do open world PvE, you could do PvP, right? Some kind of world versus world style analog thing.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know about that. Please don't do that as your end game.
Why not?
I don't think that'll go down well. I don't think it'll go down well.
Oh my god, do it.
If that was, I mean,
do
that
it,
would just
ArenaNet,
be
do it.
launch Guild Wars 2 all over again, wouldn't it? It'd just be like, well,
Yes.
the end game is world versus world. People are really
Yes.
not hot on PvP, I think, right now, in terms of like in the MMO space. People are really upset that the Dune end game is like PvP,
Yes.
which, yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one.
No, I mean, in all seriousness, I agree. If you want to make an actual big MMO, it's got to be PvE. There's just no other way around it, right? It's just In all memes aside, I'm really hoping for like a proper, well-supported PvP in Guild Wars 3. But yeah, let's be real. They need to drop the game with PvE endgame on launch, or it's DOA. Like, this was ultimately the problem with New World, because I don't know if you've played it recently. I played it a little bit recently. Man, if they'd released the game as it is now on launch, holy, I feel like that looks different, right? It is like so much more fleshed out. I think it's still not perfect. I think they made an incredibly poor decision to go with a vertical style approach because they don't release enough content to maintain that, in my mind, in my opinion. I know they try and do some stuff with like scaling and stuff, but I think it's pretty fucking cooked, to be honest. But yeah, you know, that's a huge error. But, you know, the game is pretty formed, right? You know, like New World has an endgame system right now. It didn't really on launch, right? Like, and that's a problem. And it took them a long time to actually fix it. You know, and I think that's ultimately why it fucking died. It almost feels like to me, when you release a new game, you almost have to deliberately, well, this is how it would be functionally, right? But you need to have your next year of content done. So you can say, this is greenlit, this is dropping in 3 months, 100% this is happening in 3 months, right? This is what the end games look like. This is the new raid we're adding in 3 months. Oh yeah, there's another dungeon in 6 months coming up into the game. There's a new map, 9 months. And then next expansion's dropping 1 year from now, 1.5 years from now. It's like, if you don't have that, it's over. Like, your game just is going to flail, right? Which is what I feel like what we're seeing from a lot of these
I think
newer projects.
Yeah, I see it even with like just normal live service games like hero shooters or whatever. All the hero shooters that launch and have no plan, they just flop immediately. But then something like Marvel Rivals comes out, which by most accounts is basically just like another Overwatch. But they had a really, really quick content turnaround time. They had a plan. As soon as the game launched, there was going to be new stuff in like a month or two. And so people stuck around and they just keep going on with that. Same with like... even like the gacha games, like MiHoYo's games, they put out an unbelievable amount of content. And so when they put out a new game like Zenless Zone Zero, people stick around because the new content is literally on the horizon and they can see it in game. It's already planned out. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with that.
No, I think I completely agree. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's a good thing. That's a good call out on Marvel Rivals, right? Yeah, for sure. Like that's an example of a game that's basically like muscled into a pretty saturated genre, to be honest, right? And done well because they have a good development plan. That's how powerful this really can be. And I will say, I will give MMO studios credit. I think it's probably harder to do that with an MMO because, you know, I think something that's really spooky about MMO development, and I feel like Guild Wars 2 really struggled with this on its launch as well, is that I feel like it's almost difficult to predict how people are going to play your game, if that makes any sense, right? Because like ArenaNet with Guild Wars 2, they did have a plan. They were like, okay, so we've got these dungeons and people can farm them, and then they're gonna go play world versus world. This is hype. Okay, this is our like cool and kind of PvE, PvP mode that everyone can get involved in, right? Like that's the plan. That's how we're gonna do it, right? And that's obviously not how people really interacted with that, right? That's not how people played that. How people played the game, and of course we ended up going a lot more PvE focused in the end, right? But I think to actually give these studios a bit of a break, I think it's really hard to make that call. And that's what we're basically saying here, is that you have to develop this end game loop, and you have to get it right first try, right? It's not good enough to release a game and then go, okay, the end game is a bit whacked right now and people don't really like it. We'll patch it in 3 months. No, your game has to drop with end game that people like, that people are going to enjoy, and they'll engage with it in vaguely the way that you were expecting, right? That's really hard, I feel like, to actually do that and get it first try.
I think part of it is that you can't be 100% innovative and come up with these like clever creative ideas. I think there's a level of like familiarity that people have built over the years with MMOs, and if you stray too far from that, people are just going to log in, be confused, and just go back to their games that they used to. So I actually hope, I hope they innovate in many ways, but in terms of like content model, I actually hope they go for a bit more of a familiar thing with like dungeons, raids, that sort of thing. If they try something a little wacky, I'm like a little worried. Yeah. Do you think they'll, I mean, I think 100% they'll do, you think they'll do horizontal progression again?
My guess would be it will be horizontal, but slower.
Yeah.
And maybe more traditional. So I think that it will be exactly like Guild Wars 2 in that they're never going to add better items. I'd be genuinely amazed if they did this. If they actually made it vertical. I think there's like no way that they go that way. But I think the progression, I feel like their choice to go with kind of like generic stats over kind of like, you know, unique items, I guess, if that makes any sense, is maybe not ideal, because it means that like most of the stats are terrible, right? And also I think it's really confusing to people. So I would say that they will probably not do it that way. To be honest, I could definitely imagine them going in a direction a bit like New World, actually. I could imagine them kind of, look, if you said, what do I think Guild Wars 3 is going to look like? Do you know what I would say to you? I'd say New World, but good. Like, that's kind of what I'm expecting, actually. And one of the things that I did think was kind of cool about New World was actually, like, the gearing system in that game. It's a bit ARPG-esque, right, almost, right? You have, like, all these little perks on your items and stuff like that. Like, that's the direction I could see them going. So, less focused around stats being kind of manipulable and more about, like, bonuses, right? Because I actually think that's a lot more communicable to the player, right? I feel like, you know, if a player sees, oh, equipping this gives me like a percentage of extra damage on this ability, like that's kind of easy to understand. Whereas I feel like one of Guild Wars 2's issues is that the information is extremely opaque. Like, what does 200 power mean? Like, what does that actually mean, right? What does that do for me? Like within the game, it's like very, very complex for a player to kind of evaluate that.
Fucking boring, I think.
Yeah,
just
sure.
Like, yeah, just numbers like that. It's boring. It doesn't even do anything for me in like games like WoW. If I see the stat number go up, I'm just like, for sure. I feel way more interested when I get like a trinket that does something cool. I'm like, whoa, now that's interesting. You know?
Yeah, I think that's definitely like a really big criticism of WoW is that it's like what is, like how good is like 5K mastery? Like what does that mean, right? Like it's like very difficult to understand it.
Legion at like a semi-casual level, and I still really don't give a shit about stats. I look at like the guides or whatever, but I'm like, am I feeling the impact of this? Not really.
Yeah. But it's really weird, right? I think that a lot of modern MMOs, they're extremely incremental. Like that. This is kind of like how retail gearing to me feels so fucking weird, because every item doesn't do that much, but when you add them together, it's insane, right? Like, it's fucking crazy. Like, you know, when you start a season, right, and you're getting into Mythic Plus or whatever, you're just doing some keys, you're doing the raid, you're like, I'm literally dead in one hit, it's over, I do no damage, GG, right? Like, Heroic feels impossible week 1. But then, like, 3 weeks, you're like, I am God, these bosses cannot resist me, I will feast upon them, right? Like, that's kind of how it feels, because you get all these, like, little upgrades, and you're absolutely right about trinkets. Like, trinkets and cantrips feel really good, you know? When you get, like, a weapon that's got an on-use effect, like the cape in Undermine that gives you a little speed boost. Like,
you know what sucks? This is what I thought relics were gonna be. This is what I thought relics were gonna be.
Bro,
I was so excited.
I'm gonna say
they're gonna be like trinkets.
I'm gonna say it. Biggest mistake they ever made was making relics do damage. I'm gonna say it. That's just the reality. Relics should not have done damage. That's it. because one, it actually power cut the fuck
I'm
out of the
okay
game
with them.
really hard, but like they should have not.
I'm okay with them doing damage. They just need to be like interactive. Like you have to think about it. You have to do a specific thing to make it happen. Like I really hate that they yeah, I don't know. The ones that just don't change up rotation at all. They're just kind of like there. That sucks. It sucks. It does.
Yeah. I do think they actually to actually give ArenaNet credit. I think they recognize this. They're trying to add stuff like the Bloodstone relic, basically. So they have interactive stuff. But yeah, like relics were definitely held back by the existence of stuff like Fireworks relic, right? That was just like super boring. And it's like, yeah, you always run this. But I think they are, to their credit, I think they are actually fixing this. There's a lot of relics that are kind of non-generic that you do end up running now, which I think feels really good, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think with each patch release, they are starting to introduce more of those, which is cool.
Yeah,
like,
and
every time they release new relics, like,
they're trying to cook relics that are like, oh, okay, this build would love this, right? So they're trying to make like a relic that's going to synergize with a particular type of build, so that like it's like, oh, this interacts with that build in a particularly positive way. So I actually think that is pretty damn good, to be honest. I do like that. Yeah.
I have a question for you. How do you think the elite specs? How do you think they're going to fit in? So like Troubadour, for example, it's going to be like a supporty thing. Do you think it just exists in parallel with Chronomancer as like an additional option, or do you think they do something a little wacky? They do like some unique buff. I know that's like a scary word, but like, do you think they do anything different with them, or they just exist as like another DPS support option sort of thing?
I honestly think there's room for that, but I think that they're probably going to make these specs pretty versatile, right? I'm pretty sure that they really want to make sure that whatever game mode you play, whatever class you play, and whatever role you enjoy to play, you're going to have an option there. I don't think it's going to be like Druid, or well, how Druid used to be, right? Where it's like
old Druid, yeah.
If you play Druid, you are a healer. There is no way around that. No, I don't think they're going to take that approach.
That is so. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it, but that's actually a bummer to me. I actually really liked when spec design was quite specific. Druid was one of my favorite classes because it was like, yes, it's just a healer, and your traits are all around like how you do that, and it changes how you do that. I'm not a fan of all the elite specs that are like, just pick your trait line and it'll be like power, condi, support. I think that's really boring, and yeah, my hope actually would be like they introduce a 4th elite spec, and now they can make every elite spec a very specific fantasy and role. And I understand that like that kind of bums out new players or people that only have one expansion or whatever, but I just think that leads to way more interesting design.
I am actually inclined to agree with you. Yeah, I think that this was very notable in the EOD specs. It's one of my one of the things that I like the least about stuff like Harbinger is that there is one trait choice depending on what type of build you're playing, right? Like there in a lot of ways there kind of isn't buildcraft really in a lot of Guild Wars 2 elite specs, because there is the correct option, and then there's the stuff that literally does nothing for you depending on what role you're trying to play. And I think that is actually a little bit of a criticism.
is another example of this. Oh my goodness, the like slapping alacrity on one of the traits. I really hated that. I was like, it should just pure DPS spec. That's the fantasy. And now I actually loved the Grandmaster traits of Blaine Sworn. I was like, this is exactly what the game needs. It needs more of this. You know, different flavors of a similar thing instead of like, just change your role with a Grandmaster thing.
I do ultimately think that you are right, is that and it's very obvious that the elite spec system was designed originally to be that way. It's like, you pick your role based on what elite spec you play, and then you pick your playstyle and how you do your role within the elite spec. Because, you know, it's funny, like, I think Guild Wars 2 is a game that has really, really cool buildcraft in it, which is really nice, right? There's loads of builds that you can play. But it is definitely an interesting meme that there isn't in a lot of ways, it's very much the illusion of choice, right? Because there is one correct option for what you want to do, and everything else sucks. If you want to play DPS Scourge, you do not have an option. Like, you are going to be playing Demonic Law and Sadistic Searing and Fell Beacon. Everything else is trolling. And yeah, that's a bit unfortunate, right? Because, you know, yeah, technically speaking, you've got a lot of different combos that you can pick, but not really. You know, at the end of the day, like you kind of don't have that decision in a lot of ways, and that is definitely a bit of a running theme of like modern Guild Wars 2 skill design, because they did want to kind of make it so that all of the classes kind of make sense within like the paradigm of how people play the game, right, with all the boons and stuff, which yeah. I think, well, I mean, look, we can get into like perma boons, but honestly, that's not like that is just a fiesta, right? And yeah, it's a goddamn clown fiesta. But yeah, no, I do agree with you. I think that it obviously has the downside, right? Because it means, oh, I want to play druid, but you know, I kind of, you know, I don't want to play healer, right? And that sucks. But yeah, you know, it's funny actually.
Yeah,
I feel
sucks, but you got 2 other specs. You know, it's like just pick the other one. You know,
yeah,
just pick the DPS spec.
I think this is kind of a weird.
I don't play
meme.
WoW and then like, you know, expect to play like a blood DK DPS when there are 2 other specs that do specifically that.
I think that's the real strength of WoW's class design, is that there's actually a huge amount of playstyles within each specs which typically rotate in efficacy, right? Like, you know, you know, one patch on your Frost Death Knight, you're going to play this side of the talent tree that gives you these abilities. And then, next patch, they buffed it. And, you know, you're going to play the other side of the talent tree that gives you a different set of abilities to use, right? Like, that type of top-down approach is effective. And in a lot of ways, right, like, elite specs in Guild Wars 2 are just specs in WoW, right? Like, you're a Death Knight and you specialize, your elite spec is Frost, Blood, Unholy, right? If you're a druid, you can be a feral druid, a balanced druid, a resto druid, right? A guardian druid. So that's kind of like where the elite specs kind of come in there. In that kind of, and I think there are definitely there's definitely some advantages to that type of design approach for sure, because that does kind of give you almost like the best of both. The Guild Wars 2 has really good flexibility because you can have 3 specializations, right? That you can kind of mix them and match them a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely tough. But I do expect them to kind of have at least 2 roles. They might have like a primary role and the secondary role, because I think they're going to want all of the specs to at least be able to do damage in some way, and then some of them will have support capabilities attached to them. I'd be very surprised if all of them don't have at least 1 boon they can do. Like, I think all of them will be able to do either quickness or alacrity. Bard maybe will be able to do both even, right? Because that would kind of make a little bit of sense, I guess. But I think a lot of the specs will probably have like some element of multi-role stuff so that people can kind of play them how they want them to.
Yeah, right. Interesting. I certainly think Paragon is just going to be pure support.
I think it's got to do damage.
Warrior has like,
it's got to do damage as well.
Like, Warrior's already got like 3 damage elite specs. You think it needs another one?
I think it will absolutely. Look, they are going to make Heal Warrior a thing with Paragon. I am completely with you on that.
Yes. Yeah.
But there will be traits that have damage support as well.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But there is, yes. Heal Warrior, I think they've wanted Heal Warrior to be a thing for a while, and it exists in competitive more than it does in PvE. Like, Heal Berserk is honestly okay. Heal Blade Sworn,
I actually have a lot
okay.
of fun with it. It's just it doesn't quite, fantasy-wise, it doesn't really work, you know? Like, it's just, it definitely works.
I've got a bit of a soft spot for it, to be honest. It's kind of funny, actually. I like it. You're just like going berserk, like smashing people with the staff and healing them. I think that's actually kind of funny. To be honest. But yeah, I do know what you mean. Yeah, for sure. Like, Paragon is definitely much more like thematic, right? For that warrior leadership support kind of thing going on there. So I know exactly what you mean, for sure. And yeah, they're going to go hard with that and make sure it's a thing without a shadow of a doubt. So that should be pretty cool, I think. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, they've actually done a lot of prep work for Paragon, right? Because they've actually made tactics and discipline like way better. Like, discipline has like heal modifying in it with like the stacking heal thing on bursts trait. Tactics has got a huge amount of support now packaged into it. Like, all you need is like a proper elite spec mechanic that will work properly, because like Spellbreaker, Bladesworn, and Berserker don't really have like a support-oriented profession mechanic, and it's job done, right? I think you'll be good to go there. You'll be in business 100% with that one. Yep. Yeah. But I think they will do damage as well.
It's wild to think that the Guild Wars 2 is going to be comparable in numbers to World of Warcraft's elite specs. There's going to be a similar amount of elite specs to specializations in WoW. Yeah. When this expansion.
It's going to be crowded. It's going to be pretty insane. There's going to be a lot of stuff there in the game. That's for sure. Yeah, we have to wait until we get like the Void Demon Hunter, right, in like midnight when they add that to the game as well. It's gonna be content. It's gonna be augmentation of Ochre 2.0, bro. It's coming. It's happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. You know, I think it's that's the downside of adding the elite specs. I think it's gonna make a bloated game even more bloated, right? Which is, you know, it's tough, but I mean, fuck it, it's gonna be fun. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Fuck it. Rule of cool.
Yeah, pretty much. It's gonna be based. It's gonna be based.
Yeah, so good luck to the balance team. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, you know, to be honest, like, especially given like where we're at with the game, I think just make it fun. Make it fun. If it's balanced, good. If it's a little bit whack, who cares? You know, like balance, in my opinion, is really not a concern with, you know, power creep and stuff. Like, you don't need a meta comp to clear Veil Guardian at this stage, or like do open world. It's like really not a big deal. It's all good. Yeah. Make it fun. Make it cool. Log in. And if they do that, I got no problem with it, to be honest.
Yep.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oof. It's a big one. I mean, it's a really exciting time, honestly, for Guild Wars, just in general, guys. It's a really, really exciting time. I'm just waiting to crawl out of bed, go on the internet, and the studio update's there. And it's the studio update. Okay, it can happen at any moment. Like, any studio update could be the studio update.
I've been watching all these, like Gamescom, Game Awards, and I'm just sitting there praying.
Waiting for
see that ArenaNet icon pop up.
God, yes.
You know what's weird?
It can't be this year, though. Like, the very earliest Gamescom it could be is next year. So we're not getting it this time, that's for sure.
Yeah. What do we have recently? The Summer Games Fest. I was surprised they didn't just put the expansion announcement trailer in that. It was only a month earlier, so like, I think that would have been a good opportunity.
Yeah, I was hyped for it. I was coping. I was watching the whole thing live. I was coping hard. I was like, holy shit! Now this is it. They're gonna drop it. They're about to drop it hard. This is like the last day. It's the PC gaming show, and it's about to activate. But you know, it didn't happen. Unlucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting content.
It is cool. There's actually a lot of Final Fantasy 14 creators and stuff that are playing Guild Wars 2 at the moment. A lot of people have moved over for a bit because 14's in a bit of a slump at the moment.
Yeah, I heard about that. It's not it's not having the best of times right now. Kind of interesting, right? Like it's always interesting to see like how each MMO has its own like rise and fall, right? Like depending on like the weather, right? Like all these games are very cyclical with
that's
how
the
it
thing
goes.
I feel like MMO players, they are just hungry for something new.
Oh yeah,
and that's why every MMO launch just absolutely
pops off,
even if it's complete garbage.
Yeah,
and people only realize later. So yeah, I'm excited for a Guild Wars.
There's room for it. I really do believe there's room for it. Like you know. The fact that you have, 1.4 million people on Lost Ark launch, 1 million nearly on New World launch, there is a market for this. People are looking for something new. Like, there's no question about that. Like,
imagine a game gets those numbers and it's actually good on launch.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, like that. Nuts.
Oh yes. It's gonna be good. Like Guild Wars 2 was the chosen one, but Guild Wars 3 is also the chosen one, guys. Just you wait and see. Just you wait and see.
I think Guild Wars 3 has actually a better chance than Guild Wars 2.
Oh, yeah?
The environment right now, with the lack of MMOs coming out and with Guild Wars 2 being so established at this point with such a huge player base relative to like Guild Wars 1 when Guild Wars 2 came out, I think it's got a real good chance at like, I mean, maybe top spot for a period, like that's exciting.
Yes. Bless Online. Listen, Bless Online is actually another, in my opinion, really good sign for the MMO industry, guys. Or making a new MMO. If people are willing to actually cope on that game being even remotely good or non-trash, dude, look, MMO players will play anything, okay? Like, they will play literally anything, okay? Not a problem. Yeah. Incredible. Oh yeah, Guild Wars 2 is by no means not a successful game as well. Like Guild Wars, look, Guild Wars 2 rather. Look, there's a reason I was talking about this. Like the current MMOs are just good. Like that's another reason why new MMOs fail is because they're just, the current ones are actually just very, very good. You know, there is some negativity about Guild Wars 2, but I think it's really worth noting that that's not about the absolute quality of the game. People are complaining about the relative quality of the game, right? Like, that's why people are upset. People are upset with Guild Wars 2 right now because the game is not as good as it was in Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire and EOD. Like, that's where the negativity comes from.
Yeah, and this happens with every MMO.
Of course.
Literally every MMO has gone through this same cycle.
Yeah, I mean, look, WoW and BFA and Shadowlands, right? Like, this is not...
Correct, yeah. Destiny 2's going through it right now. 14 went through it with Dawn Trail. It's just like... around and around we go.
Exactly. Like, this is not abnormal for games. Like, the only slight elephant in the room with Guild Wars 2 is that, like, how do I put this, right? Like, Blizzard didn't wanted to leave Shadowlands, okay? Like, Guild Wars 2, we might be in the Shadowlands forever, guys, okay? Like, there's no other way of putting it. Like...
That's great. Good to see.
Shadowlands.
I actually liked.
He loved it. He actually loved it.
I did not mind Shadowlands, honestly, as like a semi-casual player who actually also doesn't really give a shit about like WoW lore. I thought Shadowlands was actually fine. Like, I loved the zones.
Yep.
The raid was cool. That's all I needed, to be honest with you. I liked the Covenant stuff. I was logging in like every day to do my little Covenant quests. That was cute. Yeah, I didn't mind it.
Yeah. I also think the state of the MMO industry is also really good for new games, because I feel like every game right now, it's so easy to pick them up and put them down, right? At any given time. Like, you know, even WoW, like WoW has undergone like a big shift on this, right? Starting with Dragonflight, really, like the very seasonal approach. It's very much log in, pump the raid. When you're bored, just piss off and come back next season, right? It's like very much like that. And like every MMO is like this. Like Guild Wars 2 is like this, right? With the quarterly updates and the way that they handle things. You know, they're all like this, right? Like, you know, Final Fantasy has long had this policy of like log in, when you're done, log out and come back next time, right? And that's just like the nature of like where the industry is. So that means that I think there's very much room. I think the days of people kind of exclusively playing one MMO is kind of behind us, right? You know, in a lot of ways. I feel like, you know, pretty much every MMO gamer like is playing a couple of different games, right? Like, you know, here and there, like, you know, when they're done with that one and they finish the content, they put it down, they go try another one, right? So it's a good environment, right? I don't think there's a lot of like mono gaming going on, to be honest. Like, I feel like you might get that maybe in some of like the old school MMOs, kind of like the grindier ones, like Classic or OSRS, because those, like, you know,
you just don't have time.
Exactly, like you really want to grind that out. But certainly with like the modern style MMOs, kind of like your Retails, your you know, Retail WoW, Guild Wars 2, right, Final Fantasy, right? They're very much focused on like, yeah, you can play multiple games like very easily, right? And it's like not a big deal or anything like that. Yeah.
What do you think MMOs are missing right now that Guild Wars 3 could hit on? Because I don't think they'll go this direction, but I think like the really classic style MMOs people are loving right now, and we haven't had like a new one that channels those classic MMOs. I don't think that's the direction Guild Wars 3 would go, but that's something that I think is missing in terms of like the new MMO space at the moment. But like I really struggle to think of things that aren't already covered by current MMOs.
Yeah, I think it's actually really, really tough to actually figure out what direction you'd go in terms of what type of content you could release. I do think that something that ArenaNet are quite likely to lean into, I feel like they're going to go kind of... They'll definitely do the open world thing, because that's like, I think, a very notable weakness of a lot of the really big MMOs, like WoW and 14. It's kind of like the open world experience, like that kind of group open world content. I'd be amazed they don't have something like that. But it's really tough, actually, in terms of the end game is where I'm struggling. Like kind of like instance content, PvP. That's tough for me, because damn, WoW and 14 do a good job of that, huh? It's like
they do.
Very hard to compete, I think, with those games in that arena. So the question is like, how do you go about doing that? I think PvP is weirdly open, but the thing is, look, I'm a PvP lover, but at the end of the day, like, we might as well not talk about it. Like, PvP is definitely like second fiddle in all of these MMOs at the end of the day, and that's very unlikely to change. So when we talk about like what are they going to add to the game that's different, we basically mean what PvE are they going to add to the game that's different, because that's what they actually have to come up with. Like, what does the PvE endgame experience look like in a way that's like really engaging with people? It's tough, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah. What would they do?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those things. It's like the iPhone, right? Like they have to come up with it. Like, and then we'll go, of course. How could we have lived without this before, right? You know, in a weird way.
Events. Like no one really thought about like, ooh, how can we make the open world stuff more interesting? World of Warcraft's like they've nailed it with quests or whatever, and then ArenaNet were like, here's dynamic events.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. They're gonna have to cook something there. Like it might simply just be a little bit of a doubling down, right? They want to make the world even more alive, even more dynamic, right? With how it is, and now with a new engine, new technology, maybe they can like really push that even further than they already have. But yeah, I genuinely have no idea. I don't really know. What I'm looking for, to be honest, because the thing is, like, a lot of what I really like is basically in Guild Wars 2. Like, what I would do is I would basically just like mash Guild Wars 2 and WoW together. I think the
I'm the exact same.
Because
I want WoW's content model with Guild Wars 2's combat. And
pretty much, yeah. Because I look, I'm gonna be a simp, guys. Like Mythic Plus, it's pretty good. You can't improve on perfection. Just add that into the game. Add that to Guild Wars 3, guys. Just put it in. I want to see the encounter design that is as good as WoW's encounter design. It is amazing. They are so good at making fights in that game. It's kind of disgusting, actually, how good they are at doing it and coming up with new ideas. But, hopefully there's some innovation there as well. I don't know, it's like super, super tough to try and like figure out like what they could possibly do. But yeah, I would just mash them together, to be honest. Like, I want to see WoW endgame PvE with World versus World and Conquest in particular. I don't want to see fucking push in Guild Wars 3, bro. Literally just copy-paste Conquest into the game, log in. It's time.
Yeah. I actually hope they do something similar to Destiny. Destiny's raids are really good. I think their encounter design is actually better than WoW.
Oh.
Like in terms of like... In terms of mechanical design, they're so much more puzzle solving focused and like real communication. It's hard to describe to someone that hasn't played. They're almost like escape rooms.
Okay.
Like you're like as if you're doing an escape room while fighting a boss. You've got lots of encounters have like separate teams on separate sides of a map, and they're trying to communicate like symbols and shit to each other to tell each other what to shoot. It's just really cool encounter design. And I hope Guild Wars 3 can do something like that, given... I mean, I'm hoping they go for sort of an action-y approach, and it's less about maintaining, I don't know, healing and buffs and that sort of thing, and it's more about, like, how do you solve these puzzles? Well,
that naturally comes with an action-style thing, right? Almost like that's like because of course like Destiny is it's a shooter, right? So it's essentially an action game at the end of the day, right? So I think that kind of naturally comes with that. It's also something that New World lent into, right? Like New World has like the little dungeon puzzles and stuff like that, like within the dungeon. I guess not in the raid encounters, but yeah. So I think that if they do go action, that would naturally be like a consequence of that design decision. I feel like.
Yeah. Why do you think people would stick around with Guild Wars 2 if Guild Wars 3 just basically has better content model, better open world, dynamic events? If it's an evolution of what Guild Wars 2 does best, why do you think people stick around for Guild Wars 2?
I mean, if it really is that, and it is an evolution, then the only reason will be sunk cost fallacy. But I think it probably won't be like, it will probably be just different, right? And it will be like, well, why do some people prefer classic to retail, right? Like the game is like fundamentally different. But yeah, it will be sunk cost fallacy, and people will just prefer the old version of the game, I think. But if it is like, if Guild Wars 3 is just like Guild Wars 2 but 2.0 basically, then yeah, you'll probably see more conversion, right? I guess in that situation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just did the Convergence CM for the first time.
Oh
the
my
Mount
god.
Burial one.
That was
something.
that was so
I was like
disappointing.
half. Yeah, no, yeah.
I was actually hyped for that as well. So it was so brutal for me because I was like, oh man, they've delayed it to the last patch. This is fucking hype. They're gonna go big. They're gonna do Umbriel. It's like, oh well, okay, maybe not then. Okay.
Yeah, did we need the 3 Titans scattered throughout patches? Like, did we need that?
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
I think that was just strange.
Yeah. It was strange, and I don't know. It didn't feel like there was much of a reason for it.
Yeah, I think it just adds to people feeling underwhelmed. You know, they wait 3 months, they anticipate something, and then it comes out, and it's not quite doesn't quite hit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they fix that with the convergence coming out the last final patch. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. For sure. People hate the long puzzly fractals. Yeah, that's because, listen, okay, do you know why that's the case, Unique Control? This game has been infested with fucking casuals, okay? Like, those fractals are actually the best, to be honest. Like, the ones that have... Look, when I read posts on the Reddit that say, I love fractals where we just go to the end boss, bro. We don't have to do anything on the way, bro. We just fight the boss, bro. Dude, I'm cringing.
That is called a strike.
Yeah, that is a strike mission, okay? That is not a fractal. That's not a dungeon, okay? I want dungeons. This is some Zuma shit. Yeah, it is some Zuma shit. This is, look, I'm obviously joking about the whole casual thing, but yeah, look, I think, look, to actually get serious on this, I do think that a lot of people who play Guild Wars 2 unironically don't appreciate it, and they just view it as like a reward simulator, basically. And therefore, when there's like an obstacle for them getting the reward, they actually view it as like exactly that, an obstacle, rather than the game itself. So yes, there is an element of that, but it's fine. It'll be a new audience. Okay, like all of the sweats will come back. All of the big pumpers will log the fuck in to Guild Wars 3, dude. That's how it is. No, like, dude, 100%. Do you know? You guys want to know peak Guild Wars 2? Doing all the portals on Cliffside Fractal. Okay. That's based. Peak Guild Wars 2 is doing a raid speedrun with like all the portal tech and all the weird shit that you can do in raids. Peak Guild Wars 2 is doing Nightmare Fractal speedrun, like doing all the events between the bosses, right? And like actually pumping and doing high DPS. Like that's where the game really shines, in my opinion, in terms of its combat. And it is really interesting. Oh, okay. This was remarkable. So I love PvP in this game, and I love Conquest. And do you know what's really interesting? Are you familiar with the concept of kiting? So like climbing on the terrain and stuff like that? This is an opinion that I see in new Guild Wars 2 players. They don't like it. They don't like the fact that you can jump on stuff to evade it. They actually view it as like a borderline exploit. And that to me is remarkable. Because to me, that is the game, right? Like that is why Guild Wars 2 PvP is so good. It's like the movement component, the positioning component. But people, like, no joke, kind of want run it down mid and slam, like 5v5 deathmatch brawl, right? Like
right, so this is why you hate push.
It's so interesting. It's so interesting to me that this is kind of like a thing that pops up in kind of like newer, it's a relatively new opinion that I've seen pop up a little bit. And that's just because, like, you know, people don't appreciate Guild Wars 2 for all its wonder. Okay, all like, the good parts about the game. Okay, that's the reality. Boom.
Yeah, I think if you go and play any other MMO, you'll come to really appreciate Guild Wars 2's movement and verticality and combat system a lot.
But no, oh, dude, I just hope that. Look, I just hope they have to do PvP. They have to do PvP in Guild Wars 3. They have to. If they don't, I'm gonna cry.
Yes.
But actually, no, I'm not worried about that, because actually, I'm curious in your take on this as like a multi MMO enjoyer. Yeah. Basically journalist man at this stage. Yeah. I feel like you can't release an MMO and expect people to take it seriously if it doesn't have PvP. Even though PvP is like not usually the main end game, I feel like you have to have it. I don't think you can. In the same way that you can't seriously release an MMO without like some kind of like raid content. Like you just can't do that. Like people aren't going to take you seriously. Yeah, am I wrong?
It's hard. It's hard because if you look at the numbers and you look at the stats, 10 times out of 10, like every single MMO that has PvP, the PvP scene is just like floundering compared to the PvE.
Yeah.
So economically, it does not make sense to do PvP in your MMO if you release one today. Will people take it seriously?
Yeah, I just think that it's a bad look. I think it's a bad look if you don't have it.
Really?
Yeah, I kind of do actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If
I'm not sure, to be honest.
I think. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm definitely not married to that idea, but that's kind of like the read I have is that, you know, I feel like it's almost a requirement for a new MMO to kind of have a little bit of everything attached to it. You got to have some kind of PvE in game. You got to have some PvP in there somehow. I mean, look, I will admit this. I'm coping a little bit here, bro. Like, if there's no PvP in World vs. World in Guild Wars 3, it's over. I'm mental boomed. I'm like full mental boom. Because, dude, I love World vs. World. It's so good.
I think they'll do World vs. World. Structured PvP, I'm a little unsure of. But I mean, I feel like if you've already gone halfway with World versus World, you might as well just go and do structured PvP with it. Like, you've already got a PvP combat system there if you're doing World versus World. So, like, why would you not just spin off a smaller version of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, it really does, like, put into perspective just how much of a Herculean task it is to pull off an MMO these days. The amount of shit you've got to have in it. You know, you can't just make one game that's like just about raids. You have to do the whole thing. You've got to do the open world. You've got to do the raids. You've got to do dungeons, PvP. And if you don't do any one of those things, people are just gonna be like, well, the other MMO has more. I'm going to go to that one.
All camps should brace for the assault.
Yeah. It's just because, like, when I think about the game, the time where I enjoyed this game the most, and it was Heart of Thorns, towards the middle of the end of Heart of Thorns, basically. And one of the reasons why this is the fucking sickest shit ever, PvP was popping. World versus World was popping. PvE, all, like, raids were popping, fractals were popping. And, you know, I love variety. I love, you know, PVX, right? I love to play PVX, and that was the most PVX time the game has ever had. It's one of the things that kind of rustled me a bit, and why POF kind of rubbed me the wrong way, honestly, overall as an expansion, is because it, like, really moved away from the PVX thing, and it became very PvE oriented. I think, like, they did not really care that much about PvP in World versus World at that stage. It was very evident from the Elite Spec designs. But yeah, HOT was so amazing because the game was mega alive in all game modes at the time, and that was just, like, so hype. I do really like World of Warcraft now, but I honestly can't really see myself PvPing in that game, to be honest. I just don't really see me getting into that with the way that it plays out. Like, I'm too Conquest pilled now, to be honest, from Guild Wars 2. And, you know, obviously, like, there is, like, open world PvP, but it's not world versus world. It's not like territory control kind of thing, right? Like, WoW doesn't really have that, to be honest. Yeah. And that's what I want. You know, I want that. It's why I was mega hyped for New World, right? Like, New World was like, oh shit, it's time. Open world PvP, log in. Okay, Gang King. Okay, 50v50. Let's go. And obviously that didn't really work out that well, but it is what it is. So yeah, it's got to have it. It's got to have PVX.
Yeah, fair. I think it's unlikely they will release without PvP. I think it's unlikely.
Yes. They should do esports again. I think they should do esports, bro. I think they should just drop esports. Just do it.
It is a popular scene right now, more popular than it was when Guild Wars 2 was coming out, I think. So, that'd be interesting.
Don't force esports. I completely agree. I think this is one of the biggest mistakes that you can make if you want to do esports, is actually, like, esports has to be grassroots. It has to be bottom up, not top down, in my opinion. Many a game has tried to force esports, and it always fails. It has to be something that grows. Like, this is the reality of, like, I'll tell you guys, any game dev watching, I have the secret, okay? Do you guys want to know the secret? If you want to have a good esports scene, it's quite simple. Make a competitive game that isn't dog shit, and then the players will make one for you. And then after they've made it, then you can step in and say, look, we'll, you know, you can, I don't know, like, we'll make a little trophy for you or something. Or like maybe you can get a sponsor, and then there you go. Yeah, just make a game that doesn't fucking suck, and people will compete in it. Like, it really is that simple, to be honest. It really is that simple, guys. Yeah. Boom. No ranked ladders, AT or spectator on launch. Yeah, I mean, listen, yeah, Guild Wars 2 definitely did not have the bottom-up design. Okay, there was no ranked leaderboard that existed in a proper way. No tournaments automated. It was like this weird gem system, ticket buying thing, and you couldn't spectate. Yeah, it's not the way. That didn't really was not a good plan. Stronghold. Wait, do you have any? What are your thoughts on push?
Ooh, It's a little. I like it in concept. I like the idea of a game mode that like is just built around team fights, essentially.
Yep.
But I actually think the problem right now is just like partly to do with the level design. Like, it's a very small map with narrow corridors, and that just does not interact very nicely with the Guild Wars 2 combat model, because it's just spamming shit down hallways for like 50% of the match.
I feel like, yeah, to make it properly work, they'd have to balance the game around it, right? That's the weird thing.
Yeah. I think it needs to be a bigger map. I think it needs more interesting level design. Like you said about people not liking kiting, I really don't like that the map is essentially just flat and doesn't have any interesting like buildings or anything to enter and anything like that. I'm a bit mixed on it. I'm not sure if it's gonna do what ArenaNet hope it's gonna do.
Yeah, that's because this is my concern, because I assume you caught this in the update. The final version of Push is dropping in August.
Yeah.
Look, this is me kind of maybe being uncharitable here, but it sounds like they're like, bro, I'm not sure about this one anymore. And they're like, fuck it, put it in the game and hope for the best. Like, I'm not convinced. I'm not seeing where this fits into the game, basically. Like, that's where I'm at. Like, I don't see where it goes in Guild Wars 2, like what they want to do with it. I don't see the vision, basically, or I haven't understood the vision with what they want to do with this. Because yeah, they've said that they want it to be like a thing that people learn before going to ranked, but then it's nothing like ranked.
That's just not. Right? That is not the way. That makes no sense. It's I don't know. That's like to me. That's like what they did when they tried to introduce strikes in IBS, and we're like, oh, this is going to be a stepping stone to raids. It's like, that's just not really how it works. Like, I'm a bit worried about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm just not sure how it's gonna go, right? Because if it's not in ranked, ultimately it's irrelevant. And that means, is it in unranked as a rotation thing? Like, you can roll into it? Is it entirely replacing unranked? That makes it super weird. What about ATs, right? Like, players going from, like, unranked into ranked into ATs is going to be super weird, because it's a completely different game mode now. I don't know. Like, it's...
I think...
I don't know.
I think
weird to me.
In concept, I like it. I like the idea of a payload mode that, like, pushes team fights or whatever. I just think it needs more time to cook. It needs more time to cook.
Yeah.
I think the map needs to be bigger, more spread out, better map design. I don't like that the point that you're trying to push it to is literally outside the enemy spawn, because those like final moments of matches are just like miserable.
There is a change in the patch notes. I think they've actually kind of shown ahead of time what they're going to do with that. So they basically fixed they changed something about the wave respawn timer. and the way the wave respawn timer works. And this is actually something that I imagine many people in Guild Wars 2 don't know, but there's actually a setting in PvP that allows respawns to be on waves. So like every 30 seconds, everyone who's dead respawns, basically. I am almost certain they're going to be applying that to push. So that will actually help quite a bit, in my opinion, because what that means is that, one, that will prevent that kind of like that weird ending of the game where everyone's feeding in just to hold off for as long as possible. But two, it will mean that people won't like run in and feed on their own, right? Because you're going to be potentially respawning with other people, right, who have also been killed at the same time. So it will kind of like force people to clump up a little bit and hopefully reduce people kind of getting lost simultaneously. But yeah, I think that's the approach they're going to have with that. But the thing that really concerns me is I just don't understand what like the long-term plan is for push, basically, and like what the long-term plan is for PvP. Are we, do they want to replace PvP with push, or is it just going to be like this kind of like weird mini game that's just going to exist? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
like,
weird.
I'm not like super big on Guild Wars 2 PvP, and I did have fun with it, but like you said, I have no idea how they allocate resources to spend any more time with it when it comes out, and like, wouldn't those resources be better placed in just making a new Conquest map? Like, are they going to add new push maps? And if so, then, like, PvP hasn't had new maps in ages. So, like, what? It just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I definitely had fun with it. I just think it needs time to cook. And also, I think, I don't know, they need some juicy new rewards or something to get people doing it. Because, I think people that vehemently hate PvP right now, I don't think they're going to be that convinced by push. I think the only thing it has going for it is that it's quite quick. Like, the matches are really short, and I like that a lot, because 15 minutes ish for a Guild Wars 2 PvP match is a little too long for me. I really like the quick fire thing, or at least when the mood strikes me, I'd like to just do like a quick little 5-minute thing while I'm waiting for something rather than commit myself to a full match. So I don't know. There are elements of it that I like. I think it just needs more time.
Yeah. It's complicated. I think it's definitely complicated because look, if I actually had to, guess, if ArenaNet came up to me and said, "Yo, Teapot, would more people play PvP if push replaced Conquest?" I think the answer to that is yes. Actually. In the current state of the game, like where we're at with the Guild Wars 2, yeah. I think more people would play PvP if push was the main game mode. Just because I think Conquest is extremely frustrating when the population's low, so the skill disparity is really, really high. And the matches are really quick. It's very easy for a game just to end. Like, whereas in Conquest, you often you just like bleed out basically at the end of the match. Yeah. And I think people really don't like that. To be honest. I think push would do well. But, the thing is, if I had to say that, I'd be crying because if push becomes main ranked PvP, I genuinely don't think I'm ever touching it ever again. It's just, I'm not interested. If I wanted to play a mode like that, I'd play World vs. World, right? Like that's what I would play. Yeah. It's like it takes all of the strategic nuance that's so amazing about Conquest right now and just like deletes it from existence. And it would break my heart. I'm not gonna lie. It would break my heart. I love Conquest. Like, I think I'm probably the biggest Conquest simp ever. And this is definitely maybe a slightly unpopular take, but I actually straight up think that Conquest is the best PvP mode I have ever seen in any game, actually. I think it's better than MOBAs. I think it's better than anything I've ever seen. It is so unbelievably tactical, skill-oriented, and team-oriented. It's the best. It's actually the best game mode, to be honest. It's so good. When it's played well, it is poetry in motion, my friends. It is so good.
It's so interesting to me, because I don't know, as like a semi-casual person, I'm like, it's Capture the Hill. Lots of games have Capture the Hill. That's, it's all right.
Yeah, because ultimately the game mode is relatively simple, but it's more like the intersection of the Guild Wars 2 combat system with the mode, I guess.
Right.
The way mobility works in this game and the way positioning operates in this game, I think it's like nothing else out there, to be honest. Like the way kiting works, the way the different builds can intersect, the way rotation works, and oh god, it's so good. It is amazing. Yeah.
What do you think they would have to do to get more people into Conquest?
At this point, extremely difficult. Do you want an unrealistic suggestion?
Yeah,
They would
like pie in the sky.
Pie in the sky.
If they had infinite resources.
Unironically, permaban every single player who's ever played Conquest and start fresh. I'm not joking, by the way. I think that's probably one of the biggest issues of the game right now. Yeah. I think the problem is, and nobody's doing anything wrong here, to be clear. I'm not saying people are toxic. I'm saying that the game mode just doesn't function when you have such a big skill disparity, right? If you're a new player, okay. So here's a fun thing. Sneb was playing, and he's not a big PvPer. He queued into in a random game in low gold, 1300 rating. He just finished his placements. He queued into some of the best players in the world, and the game doesn't work when you do that. It doesn't work when you have a player who's 1300 rating, and they're queuing into a world-class player like that. Conquest does not function at all in a scenario like that, right? So obviously I said it in a silly way, obviously, but in my opinion, you need to delete that skill disparity, and the way that you do that is by starting fresh, pretty much, or having like a massive influx of new players, such that there's like loads of games that are evenly matched in skill. Like, that's the issue, because I used to do a bunch of, we used to do like in-houses, right? So basically like PvPers would just hang out and play. And it turns out that if you actually have people who have about the same skill level, basically every game of Conquest actually ends up being pretty close. As long as everyone's actually trying to win, right? It actually ends up pretty close. But Conquest is just dog shit when you have a couple of people who are not as experienced, right, as like the rest of the group. It just doesn't work. To be honest, I think it is actually a game mode that's kind of like uniquely vulnerable to this, compared to something like a deathmatch, right? Because a deathmatch doesn't really have the, it doesn't really have like the whole macro play thing, like the rotation stuff and like the awareness checks in the same way that Conquest does. So yeah, like my solution for fixing Conquest is literally just either add 1 billion players into the game or like remove all of the players and start again.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you'd have to have like rejig the matchmaking system then to ensure it doesn't just end up the same way, right? Because eventually you just run into the same problem where like all the new players just filter out and it's just the experienced people left over.
Exactly. That's not what you want. And I think honestly a lot of that, yeah, like kind of what SPQR Latin guy is saying here is also important. Yes, I think there's a lot of like unintuitive mechanics in Conquest that you would have to codify into the game. For example, a lot of people just do not understand how to survive in Guild Wars 2 PvP. Like, I wouldn't say it's the combat system directly, actually. It's more like the nuances of the intersection between the combat system and the game mode. Like, if you don't understand kiting in Guild Wars 2, you will uninstall within seconds of playing Guild Wars 2 PvP. Like, it is... I can't even imagine how bad that is, to be honest. Like, it is merciless, it is brutal, you'll be farmed over and over and over again. But the game doesn't really tell you to do that, or like that this concept even exists in the game. So I think that basically, yeah, like you would also want to like, you would want to communicate some of these concepts to the player, like within the actual game itself as well, as much as possible.
Yeah, I think it's a good point that a lot of it probably revolves around the combat, given... I mean, there's a reason League of Legends has like 4 buttons, and
yeah,
there's a reason games like Overwatch and Marvel Rivals and stuff pop off is that your characters have like 2 or 3 abilities, and the rest of it is like left click the heads, and you will get the kills. So yeah, I think that that is an interesting prospect for if Guild Wars 3 leans on the action direction. They go with less buttons.
Yeah,
I think there is just something inherently more. Way easier to understand an action combat model where you just have to hit the target, really, and you've just got a few skills to manage. I think that's all you have to track in your head when you're facing someone else.
I think the scary thing about action combat, though, is actually movement. Because I actually don't think it's ability count in Guild Wars 2 that trips people up. It's movement. Where when I watch okay, if I was gonna do like VOD review with, no, I'll say it differently. The number one thing people struggle with, even good players, is movement. Like, there's a reason why people struggle with Greer. Greer CM in particular. Greer CM is basically like a massive WASD check, and dude, it just farms people. It feasts on people. It like eats people alive. Because even very experienced players, their movement is usually mediocre, to be honest. And it's the same in PvP. Like, if you're going to improve one skill, it's always your movement. Like, you know, whenever I do like roaming in PvP, it's actually funny how effective kiting is. Like, sometimes I will climb on an objective and the players will just look at me. They'll go like, huh? How do you do that? Right? And they just don't understand what to do. Like, they don't know what to do in that scenario. And that is like an analog for like literally the entire game, in my opinion. It's the same. It's also true in PvE. Most people's movement in PvE is extremely poor. Like, their positioning is bad and they're slow, basically. And that is what people struggle with. I think people, honestly, they can do a rotation. People can like press some buttons and, you know, do boons and pump a little bit. But when you have to move, that is where people struggle. And it turns out that Guild Wars 2 just happens to have like a very movement-oriented system. Like, how many MMOs is like jumping actually a mechanic? I feel like that's relatively uncommon, no?
Yeah.
And like in Guild Wars 2, jumping is not only a mechanic, it's one of the most important mechanics. Like, if you try and do PvP without jumping, the game is unplayable. Like, not like you're at a disadvantage, the game is unplayable. Like, for example, I've seen people say they want all no-port spots removed from the game because they find this mechanic to be like so unintuitive and so hard to deal with that they want all no-port spots removed from the game. And that is just like, yeah, it makes it pretty clear what part of the game people struggle with, right? Yeah. Yeah. It is what it is. Yeah. Break.
Alright, well, I'm gonna head off. I'm gonna have lunch, go to the gym.
Yeah. Yep.
Do all that fun stuff.
Yeah. What are you doing in the gym? What day is it? What are we doing?
It is full body day.
Oh.
I do
Okay.
like one upper body, one lower body, and then full body. So
oh my
it
God.
is upper body day, which
Holy
always
shit.
wrecks me.
Dude, yeah, we're going big then.
Last week I could not walk. I was
It was
messed
big
up.
leg day. Yeah.
It was big leg day.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
ass
yeah.
day. My
Oh,
ass was
oh.
so sore.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness. I could not sit down. It was rough. It was rough. But we do it anyway. Do it anyway.
We love to see that. Well, yeah, also just wants to know if you've played the other Fractal CMs. Like Nightmare, Shadow Observatory, Lonely Tower, etc. Suncourt Peak.
I don't think I have, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think I have. I never really got super deep into fractals. Like, I definitely did, like, T4 farms, but I think I was always a little intimidated by CMs, because that was all before I got into raiding, and then I've never really had a huge incentive to do the CMs. But I do absolutely want to check it out at some point, because I love the instance fights. I think I did Nightmare. And maybe Shattered Observatory. But yeah, I do want to try them properly. I'm intending on going for Ad Infinitum because I was not a fan of how the Orax back piece looked. So I'm like, great, well, now I've got one option for my back piece and I'm not doing World vs. World. So at some point, I'm going to do them. Yeah. I still haven't done any of the hard strike CMs. I haven't actually.
Yeah.
I haven't done like Harvest Temple or.
They're honestly.
Temple Thebe, and
look, that's the good.
I know they're like.
What's the good thing about Power
Yeah,
Creep? The good thing about Power Creep, they're
Yep.
actually much more approachable now. Like HDCM is really not that bad. It's long and the length of it means you have to kind of get through it a bit to you see all the mechanics and stuff. But yeah, honestly, like HDCM and Ceres CM even, they're very approachable now. Like with the current state of the balance. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I it's really dumb, but it's like the only reason I haven't pushed for this to complete this kind of content, even though I'm like a massive Guild Wars 2 fan, is literally just the rewards. They just don't interest me. If there was like a sick mount at the end of Harvest Temple CM, I'd be grinding that shit every single day till I got it. But I feel like ArenaNet have always kind of
they struggle with this.
Their reward structure.
I think the Everbloom.
That's the only reason I don't engage with that stuff. Yeah, Everbloom's like, it's okay. It's an infusion. It's okay, but it's like it's not quite enough for someone like me. I need a cool I need a cool weapon skin or a like sick mount or something. You know what I mean? That's why I end up back at WoW at some points because I'm like, well, they've just nailed the reward structure. The hard fights give you the cool shit. That's all I want from an MMO, really. I'm very simple-minded in that way. I just need like cool, flashy reward at the end of the hard content, and I will grind it hard.
Yeah, no, I think rewards is something that ArenaNet's always struggled with. I think that's regrettably a consequence of like the gem store, basically, and the way they handle rewards there. But I hope it's something they do look at actually in the big kind of raid strike update. In the first quarterly update, because I do agree. Like rewards have been like both replayable and kind of aspirational. So like the first time clear and stuff, like the skins you can get. It has been a weakness of this type of content for sure.
Yeah. Because even I really liked the EOD CMs, but the rewards that they came with were just like nothing burgers. So I just don't do them anymore. Like I did them once, and I'm like, great, that's fun.
One more thing before you go. Do you think it's a bad thing that you can buy the rewards on the TP a lot of the time, so they'll be sellable? Because I feel like that's really bad from your perspective, right?
Yeah. I think that's awful. Yeah, I really hate that. Especially like even just simple stuff like a patch comes out and we get a new weapon set and it's all tradable. You can just buy it off the trading post straight away, and there's no like incentive there to do the content. Like I really hate that. I think it's annoying because in MMOs I'm like a big fashion-minded player, but I'm like of the belief that your fashion kind of like is a reflection of
your actions, what you've done,
and that sort of thing. And when you put it in a trading post or you put it in the gem store, it's just like nothing. It becomes meaningless, and I just don't care to do the content.
I definitely want to let you go, but honestly, we should definitely chat about that sometime because I completely agree with you. I think that one of the reasons why I feel like Guild Wars 2 rewards have always struggled to feel meaningful is because in a very literal way, they aren't. They're not attached to any action within the game directly. It's why when I think about memorable like reward journeys I've had in Guild Wars 2, it's actually Vision and Aurora, right? It's Chuka and Chomper, right? Because those are things that you cannot buy. You cannot buy that on the trading post.
Exactly.
Right?
It's why like the only legendaries I have are those ones, the Gen 2 ones, because they have a journey attached to them and they're untradeable. I don't care for the Aurene ones because I'm like, well, everyone can get them, and you just buy them, and I'm like, meh. And one of my favorite journeys was getting the Envoy armor, because that was like a whole thing. I had to like get into raids. I had to find a group that was doing regular clears, and those were some of my favorite moments playing Guild Wars 2, was unlocking that armor set. I want more stuff like that.
I completely agree. It's a good conversation. Like meaningful rewards it's hard to do in a horizontal game in particular, right? Because I feel like vertical games have a cop-out almost. They're like, well, look, the number goes up. Hell yeah, right? So yeah, if you see someone with like the best in slot gear, like, oh shit, this guy's farming mythic. Oh my god, this guy's insane, right? Or early tier, they've got the mythic mount. Like, holy shit, these guys killed the mythic end boss. Oh my god. Or holy shit, this guy swiped his card and bought a boost from Echo. Yeah. Oh man, that's so epic. Right. But yeah, it's pretty cool. That you have that kind of stuff, and like vertical prop makes it easy. Really hard to do in horizontal.
I honestly think I think it's really low-hanging fruit for Guild Wars 2. I think it would be so easy for them to add just one sick skin that comes from a CM. That's it. I
and
feel
it's
like
exclusive, right? It's fully exclusive. It's locked in.
And it's exclusive. Exactly right. Like, okay, here's the thing. Every festival every year gets an entire new weapon set. Why? Why does the festival get an entire new weapon set?
You know why.
CM comes out.
That's where the money comes from. Do you see? Absolute bro. Dude, do you know a legitimate concern about the next expansion that I have, unironically, for the next expansion? It's dropping at the same time as Halloween. People aren't going to play the new shit. They're going to be in the Labyrinth, bro. They're going to be in the Labyrinth farming candy corn. They're going to go, why would I play the new expansion when I can play the Labyrinth?
But like, ArenaNet, I mean, they don't earn. I mean, if they put a new weapon set behind the labyrinth, what does that do for like? I don't know. Maybe I'm not understanding, but like, how does that benefit? Like, why would that be more benefit than putting a whole fancy weapon set behind like
I think
the new raid CM?
I think people swipe for them. I think them existing gets people to engage.
Oh,
I think people engage hard during the festival time. So people are logging in, people are looking at the cash shop, people are swiping, right? Yeah, I think it's just I think festivals and Guild Wars 2 are like giga engagement. Yeah, like mega engagement. Like
Right,
you will never see more unique copies of a map than the Labyrinth in current Guild Wars 2. You'll never see more than that. Like when the Labyrinth is up, it's like no joke, like 20, 30 maps full of people doing the Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Right? They're just going berserk. Like they're going crazy. You're not going to get that for anything else in the entire game. And yeah, that's just engagement.
So
you think
if they just like if they moved that weapon set to like the new raid encounter, it just wouldn't be anywhere near the same payoff as.
Nah, no way.
Right. Okay.
Not even close. I think you wouldn't get even like a minuscule amount of the same level of engagement as festivals get. Yeah, I think the festival's like really active. Also, dude, Boots was in the chat the entire time. Just hardcore ignored him the entire time. He hasn't been on Tea Time for ages. He's fucking nothing to me. He's nobody. I don't think he's here anymore. Feels bad. He's not even going to hear me acknowledge him even now. We were too engrossed in the conversation.
Awesomeness said, yeah, Wing 8 does have unique armor per boss. I just think they look awful. I know that's a super subjective opinion, but I just don't think the rewards look cool. That's literally, it's that simple to me. I think that like even that Decima arm thing, it's just like so hard to work into any outfit because it's just so gaudy and over the top, and it's also, this is like such a minor gripe, but like a lot of the recent skins ArenaNet has been putting out, they're weirdly low resolution, and I'm not sure why. Like the Stalker armor and the rewards from the raid CM, I'm not sure why, but the rewards are like super low res compared to the other stuff in the game, and it kind of makes it difficult to fit with outfits. But that's such like a minor gripe. But yeah, I just don't think the rewards look cool. I think they just need to look cooler, and that's it. That's that simple. Even just, they don't have to do a whole weapon set, but just like one cool weapon skin thing, I'd be happy with. I know that's like super subjective and nebulous, but
yep,
I don't know. Like when I see WoW cook up these tier sets, I'm like, holy shit, they cooked. They look sick as hell, and that's all the motivation I need to do the raiding.
He logs in for the tier sets, guys.
I do.
He logs in big for the tier sets. And the mounts, I guess, too.
And the mounts. Just, I'm telling you, ArenaNet, just like one mount skin in a raid. Do it and see what happens. Man.
That imagine.
God.
Okay, hear me out. What if they dropped a mount skin per raid wing as part of the update? In the update.
That'd be incredible. That would be the dream. I'm not gonna lie. That would be insane. Yeah. They need to do that. Now that you've put it forward, that's exactly what
they have to do it now because I've said it. They have to actually drop it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, there you go then.
Gosh. Yeah.
It'll be Dragon's End all over again. I mean, look, ArenaNet won't bend this time.
This is the only thing that annoys me about the Guild Wars 2 community in some aspects. Is just like how people don't like specific rewards being locked behind specific content. I thought putting the turtle behind, what was it? It was behind like Dragon's End and doing the Kaineng strike. I'm like, that's exactly what I want. And people were complaining, and I was like, no, now this sucks. I think it's smart. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not the expansion feature of having like the mount specifically, but cosmetic rewards, like skins. Come on, man. Like, how can people complain about them not being like earnable?
It's confirmed, guys. Bloom approved of the Siege Turtle being locked behind an event with a 90% failure rate. Like an event so challenging.
Did it really have a 9?
Yeah, that's what Grouch
yeah.
said. Yeah, Grouch said
Actually,
about
you know
90.
what? No. I stand by it. I stand by it. I stand by it. That
Oh my god,
fun.
based.
Loved it. Loved
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite moments of the expansion launch was like grueling through Dragon's End. And believe me, I am one of you people. I do not have like a dedicated guild that I do content with. I'm just like a regular Joe, but I like the challenge. I like the friction. Without it, it's just like meaningless, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good time. I will admit that. You know, there were some insane stories from that time. I had people offering me in DMs that they would pay me like $500 to let me be on their map, to basically do the event for them. Right? No joke.
Oh my god.
Like I have honestly never seen anything like this. So I would open a squad and I would have to like the way we handled this, right, was that I would go on Discord and I would say, okay, guys, I'm gonna open the squad in 3, 2, 1. And the squad would fill in a frame. Like, I would not even be able to see the number go up, right? On, like, the squad, like, number counter. It was 0. I click create squad. And then people were hammering the button, okay? Until, like, it filled in instantly. It was, like, some of the best shit in the entire game. Yeah, and also, NA in particular was like this. Like, people were saying, like, there's this amazing quote. Someone in chat, like, said, Teapot, please help NA. Like, they were begging for help. Like, they had no hope on the NA server.
Oh my god. I was on NA. I loved it. I loved the struggle. It was sick.
Wait, who did you do Dragon's Den with? You did it week 1, like unnerfed? Did you do it unnerfed?
Oh, I commanded it.
Yeah.
I just week 1 I was like doing the story and I saw the pop up that was like the achievement for doing the meta event first. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm gonna command it. I think we failed it, but that was fine. I don't know. I wasn't in any like group or anything like that. I just kept joining pugs until I got it, and that was just,
how many
like,
tries did you get it?
Oh man, I can't recall. Like maybe like 4 or 5, something like that.
Oh, that's really not that bad then.
Yeah.
I think on day 1, everyone wanted to unlock the turtle. I had report, like, some people were saying, I have tried Dragon's End every time for the past 20 hours. I think one guy said that he attempted it 16 times and it failed every single time. And he was there for full prep every time. So he was there for over 30 hours.
Holy shit. Okay, well, I sympathize with those people. I do. Yeah, maybe not that process for like an expansion feature, like a mount or whatever, but come on, skins, cosmetics, I revel in that. I want to attempt the thing like 20 times to get that one skin.
Yeah, I love this is true, by the way. There was actually a relatively significant movement within the community to actively grief maps to force ArenaNet to nerf it. Like, people would make... there was a Reddit post saying this, like, saying, protest, we will grief maps actively and AFK on them until ArenaNet are forced to nerf it. And people also made protest LFGs. So when we were making our LFGs, people would also make protest LFG, and it'd be like, join this map and AFK until ArenaNet nerf this. It was beautiful, to be honest.
Wow.
And you know, the thing is, we joke about this, and obviously, you know, it is funny in retrospect in particular. But I feel like this is kind of the magic of games, right? Like that element of friction that, you know, you're actually overcoming something. It's kind of magic, to be honest. Like, and you know, for all of the chaos and all of the insanity that was going down there, that was memorable. I will never forget that.
That
right?
is the MMO experience to me, is that struggle and camaraderie. That's why I had that long period where I was really enjoying like the classic MMOs and stuff. And why I enjoyed even Guild Wars 1. Guild Wars 1 is a hard game.
Yeah,
it is.
Great game.
And I really enjoyed that challenge. Yeah, I wish people kind of embraced that more with Guild Wars 2.
Yeah.
Because it has such a cool combat model that I think only really excels in content like that. And those are the only places where you actually properly learn to utilize the combat model and like learn the ins and outs of it, and look online for resources to figure out builds and how to properly play your class. Is that adversity and that challenge. Without it, it's just like people just steamroll through the content.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is why raids need 3 difficulty modes.
Yeah,
ArenaNet,
yeah. I
please.
mean, we brought now. Look, we go into this. We're gonna really stall you, and then you're gonna, you're gonna. Well, at least you'll be able to sit
I'm
down,
gonna
I guess.
starve. I'm just gonna die. Yeah,
But yeah. I mean, like for sure, like 2 difficulties is definitely not enough. I think Wing 8 really shows that, right? Because like Wing 8 normals, it's fucking grueling, right? And like CM, but they're also
it is,
like Wing 8 normals. They're like too easy for average raiders, I feel like, but they're still too hard for normies, basically. And then the CMs, I think, are way above the. I think okay, so your average raider in Guild Wars 2, I think, is gonna get absolutely pulverized by Wing 8 CMs. They are way too hard for like normal raiders, basically, in Guild Wars 2. Way too hard. But the normal is, I think, too easy as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the disparity between the modes is just like way too whack, you know? I play this game pretty regularly. I've done all the raid wings, but like those like Wing 8 challenge modes are ridiculous.
Yeah.
There just needs to be a way smoother curve. It doesn't make any sense.
And you can't do it with 2 modes, can you?
With 2 modes. No. With 2 modes, you either have one that's like too easy and the other one too hard. Like you're just never going to be able to capture everyone. But the thing is, they have 3 modes, sort of. I mean, they have like normal, challenge, and legendary. Yeah. But it's like.
But you only have legendary on one of them, to be honest. And honestly, legendary legendary is just CM with more HP as well. That's the big thing.
Right, and that, to be honest, that's never made sense to me. I don't know why they do, like, why even do it at that point, you know? Like, just. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit more than that, to be fair. You got the different type of ads that spawn on Ura, but yeah, like at the end of the day, like legendary is not that different to the thing.
Yeah, fingers crossed for this raid rework thing.
Yeah, they better cook it.
Update 1, make it a monster.
I mean, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see like what direction they go with that type of design. And honestly, I'm just hoping the fact that there's only 2 bosses allows them to like really cook them. To be honest, because you know I felt a little bit weird about Wing 8 CMs, to be honest, because like Greer I think is pretty good actually, but like Decima's okay in terms of the CM. I really don't like Ura CM. I think Ura CM is quite mediocre actually in terms of its design. It's not the one I would have picked to do an LCM on. But yeah, I'm hoping that they're able to kind of like really get some good designs with just 2 bosses for sure.
Yeah. I will despair.
Yeah.
If that first boss does not hit, I will despair. I will.
If it's Dagda, what is the Dagda situation?
Oh, gosh. No, thank you. No, thank you. Good lord. Yeah.
And I assume you'll be dropping a review, right, of the new expansion?
Yeah, absolutely. I will be pushing to do like a full review, like I did with Secrets of the Obscure and Janthir Wilds.
Are you going to do point 2 as well?
And
in WoW?
Oh, I probably won't. I might do like a write-up because we've got a website now. So I might do a write-up for the website. Yeah, I don't know if you caught that, but we've got like a full, basically game industry news website that doesn't have. Yeah.
You're non-slop. Yeah, 100%.
Try not to promote it, but it's literally just like literally a non-slop website where we don't have any AI-generated content, no ads, nothing. It's fully reader-funded. And so that's where I'll probably do stuff that doesn't really fit in a video.
Yeah.
So,
Skillslop.com.
Skillslop.com.
Yeah. But I tell you what, I will let you go unless you want to bring anything up else in particular, because otherwise we'll be here for all eternity.
Yeah, I will jump in probably at some point when the
absolutely. Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, like I want to. I've been doing some. I did a tea time recently with the Stop Killing Games stuff.
I saw that. I actually watched all of that. Yep. That was
great. So yeah, I'm looking at back. We should definitely do like something as well in the future. We should catch up some more because I always really appreciate your your opinions on this kind of stuff. You are not slop. You are certified by me as not slop. Congratulations.
Thank you. I feel like I talk out of my ass like most of the time, and I talk from like a casual perspective, but I appreciate people.
No, look,
to some degree.
Yeah, I got a bit of a glaze session here at the end, but I think you have a really, really solid understanding of like what makes these games good, and design concepts and principles and stuff, like why people play this, like why it's good, why it's bad, like what needs to be here, and because you obviously play a lot of games too, right? You have like a broad perspective, which I obviously find really useful because I lean more into. I just like sweat 1 or 2 games, right, at the same time. But I really appreciate your perspective because you have such a wider view on loads of different topics and loads of different games that you've kind of had a go at, right? And played.
Well, I appreciate your streams. They keep me company every time I go to the gym. I literally just have your stream in the background. So,
there it is.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on again, as usual.
Yeah.
And we'll chat soon.
Yeah. And look, if they drop something at Gamescom, you better show up. By the way, bro. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. If they're dropping Guild Wars 3 at Gamescom or PAX, we're going. No, surely.
If ArenaNet send me anything that they're announcing a Guild Wars 3 somewhere, wherever it is,
even
I will
a
be there.
sip,
so...
just like a sip of something.
Yeah, just a sip, just a morsel. If they're like, we are announcing something, I'm there, 100%. I'm also. Do you live like near London?
No, I don't.
Well,
I mean,
else,
not like super far. It will be like couple of hours, right, for me to get to London.
Okay.
So not like
I have family in what, Epsom? Surrey, something like that. And I stay with them every now and again when I go to like trips for work or whatever. So I don't know. Do you live like near there? I'd be keen to hang out. If I ever
well, I mean, no. Well, I mean, I
have no idea. I have no idea about geography.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably not far from your perspective, right? It would just be a couple of hours, but not a trivial journey for sure, right? But yeah, no, I mean, look, if there's something in the UK, like I'm definitely down to hang out because there's a couple of the crew might be doing like a bit of a road trip next year, so I might go and hang out with them because they're going to be coming to the UK. I think they're doing a couple of European countries as well. Well, a bunch of them.
Nice.
And maybe like if Roy shows up, I might go hang out with Roy as well. And I think.
Yeah, nice. You're not going to the Guild Wars 2 fan fest thingy, are you?
No, I'm not. That's in.
Yeah.
Like that's the States,
Seattle,
right?
Yeah. I wish they'd do it like around Gamescom in the same place as Gamescom because I feel like a lot of Guild Wars 2.
I think they usually do something. I think they usually do something in Cologne. Because that's one of the things that I've been to. A very long time ago, I did one of the meetups I've done was basically with like my crew. Back when I was a teeny tiny streamer, like I think I had, I want to say like 5,000 followers. I think little babby streamer back in the day. And there was kind of like a Guild Wars 2 meet and greet thing is what was there.
Right.
Like a bunch of people were invited. I met like Sin there. I met Angels there, right? Like a bunch of the partners were there and stuff like that. Yeah, Deroya was there as well. All that kind of stuff. So I think they.
You can't go now. You're just gonna get swarmed.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're doing it this year. Actually, yeah, I am very famous now. I'm really important.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about. This year, so.
I haven't heard anything about that. But yeah, maybe it might be happening because I think they do it pretty frequently, but I'm not sure. But yeah, we'll see. Oh yeah, Deroira. Yeah, awesomeness like that. But anyway, I will stop stalling. Enjoy your food and your workout. And like I said, definitely let's. It's always good to have you on. Really appreciate you. And look, I'm streaming at a reasonable time for you, which is even better.
You are. It's been fantastic. It's been beautiful. I've been able to wake up, have like coffee while you're still live. It's excellent. So.
Yeah. Right, okay. Well, take care, man. Yeah, I will see you around. Take it easy. Yeah.
Yeah. You too. Cheers.
Oh man, dude, Bloom is so based. Oh my god.